You really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, motherfucker, what do you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Quan from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it. Hits it.
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, good idea. Hang out here until 6 o'clock. Got a lot for you, too. Pacers coming up later on tonight. We got a weekend of college basketball. Big time Saturday, if you will, of college basketball. IU going to get tested by Whiskey at home coming up tomorrow. That is an 11 a.m. coverage beginning with Don Fisher. Hopefully, Don's going to join us at the 5 o'clock hour. That's 93 WIBC. Butler Marquette, that is on Saturday, too. I'm telling you, the Butler season right now is a mess. It becomes a disaster if you go up there and you lose to that bad team. I love Shaka Smart a great deal, but damn. Seriously. 1:30 pregame, 2 o'clock, that tip time coming up tomorrow. That is on the Fan, Boilermakers, and Oregon tomorrow afternoon at 1. So, yeah, you got that. You got the Pacers Bucks coming up later on tonight. You got the Pacers and the Raptors coming up on Sunday. We'll yap it up through the Super Bowl and Super Bowl 60 through Sunday, too, and then really get you set for a lot of basketball. And it's going to be interesting, college basketball-wise, and then the NBA. With the whole Zubac scenario that went down yesterday, if you missed any of that, Rick Carlisle called at the top of the show to further explain that. It was absolutely outstanding. But now that you had some time to really soak it up, to think about it, what are you thinking? What is your thought right now? Are you still digging it? Are you questioning things? Because here's what I gather. I gather that as of yesterday, everybody's really excited about it. As of right now, maybe you're a little bit more unsure. I've said this. I have said this with Zubac and Brown and Matherin and Jackson. This whole thing easily hinges on what takes place. And a lot of that is just, I would guess, giving yourself the best opportunity to suck. Can you imagine? I should write a book. How do I not have a novel written, a how-to book on here's how you suck? Here's the implementation of sucking in what you do. This is how you do it. But the Pacers have to give themselves the best advantage to make sure. And I'm not a big fan of entertaining losses and draft capital and all that stuff. I am a big fan of what could take place if things turn out right. I am much less of a fan of what normal protocol is around here. We all end up getting screwed. Whether it's lack of execution, Colts, or just bad fortune. I know what you're going to say. You're going to say you go back to the spring and the Pacer run, and there was so much good fortune. You had shots going in and game winners, stuff that you rarely see once during a postseason, but multi-times. But I always point to the second quarter of game number 7, and yeah, this is why we are where we are. The wildest ride in the amusement park is the Halliburton Achilles. That's why we're talking about all this right now. You know, maybe you would be talking about this in terms of no Turner and searching for a big anyway. I would suggest you're probably not. We're in this situation because of that wild-ass ride and the Halliburton Achilles. That's why we're here. So you look to Mother's Day and the draft lottery. And it's weird because I feel like uber nerd, the ultra nerd right here saying, hey, I can't wait until we watch the draft lottery. But that is going to explain everything. Now, obviously, the results or lack thereof will be further explanation, but up until that point in time, that's what matters the most. And that is predicated by a combination of bad play and good fortune. What the hell kind of world are we living in? Seriously. Well, here's what you got. You got to be really bad and have bad results, and then have to be really lucky. It's really lucky to be this bad. But I will tell you this. It has to be worthy of something because this season's brutal. The exciting point of the season was yesterday. And Ivica Zubac, the big man. Now, I will also play off of it in this fashion. I do have question, and I brought this up to Rick Carlisle yesterday, in something that is so important within this offense, and that is the pick and pop game of the big. It is. You can say it's not, and they can adjust, and I'm sure that they will. They're fortunate that they have an elite level passer. We saw how things worked in the past when you did not have an elite level, certainly not even a willing passer. Remember the high ball screen sets that used to run with Malcolm Brogdon? Good Lord Almighty. There's a clown show for you. But a part of what made their offense click is the threat of the high ball screen action, and not just the rim run, the dive to the rim, or also the pick and pop and the threat, the recognition of the defense, having to really soak all that up. And if you want to move forward too, it is also an offense that the quicker the pace, the better. The quicker the decision, the better. The getting up the floor, the better. And everybody says they want to play that way. I've never met a basketball player in my life, even if they stink, that suggests they don't want to play in that fashion. Nobody says, hey, let's go out and play some Bloomington City League slow break. Nobody says that because it's boring as hell. Nobody says, hey, let's go out back. We got a full court here, and we've got 5-on-5. Let's play half court. Nobody says that because why? It's boring as hell. Everybody says they want to play fast. Not everybody's equipped to play fast. Most people are equipped to play slow break or to play half court. It works for you. It works for folks. But if you want to play at that particular pace, either A, you have to get yourself used to it. But I would say this before anything else, you have to be able to do it. And everybody says they want to, just not everybody can. So those, to me, are the two incredible questions I have regarding this deal. And that is the fortune that you lean on and the fortune that you lean on around here that, simply put, you just have not seen. You got to have that on Mother's Day. You got to have that in the draft lottery. I already know how I'm going to cobble together what I'm going to say that Monday afterwards. If they don't get a top 4 and if they lose that pick, I'm going to just say how the NBA screwed them. I already feel that way, but I won't know the difference. But that will be, I'm sure, part of it. It was so obvious last year, right? Whenever Nico Harrison, the former general manager of the Mavericks, made that deal. I remember sitting in on the JMV takeover on a Saturday night. It was just after midnight. All of a sudden, the news popped regarding Luka Doncic. And he was getting traded, and people were going, what the hell is going on here? And how you tried to talk I shouldn't say this. They tried to talk everybody into how that made sense. Is the reason why it made sense is because you want to make sure LA's pretty good. Actually, LA was pretty good without Luka last night. If you watch that game, second quarter, he goes out with a hamstring injury, something like that, some sort of lower body soft tissue issue. I sound so NFL right there with that description. But some type of injury, he went out. And I'm going to give a shout out. I need to get him on sometime. I don't know how difficult it would be. James, get your ass on it. Jake LaRavia from Lawrence Central High School. I love the fact that he's getting a lot of clock. He is getting a lot of run. I was watching the Lakers and the Sixers last night. Austin Reeves was fantastic, but Jake LaRavia played well. LeBron, and it would stand to reason given his age and the mileage, but he's a guy that can still score, but he is a guy that's going to defer more times than not. I still may be a little bit butthurt because Jake LaRavia bailed on Indiana State and went to Wake Forest. And whenever he talks about where, and I think that was going back, NBC does this kind of like the NFL does, the starting lineups now with the NBA, and they say, well, they went to school. Yeah, I don't like that. Give Indiana State a little bit of love. Jake LaRavia, Indiana State. Jake LaRavia, Lawrence Central. Jake LaRavia, Wake Forest. They're like 1 year there. Come on, man. Jake LaRavia, Wake Forest. That's how you stand out if you said Jake LaRavia, Indiana State. Jake LaRavia, JMV's alma mater. But he played well last night, and he is getting a lot of run for the Lakers. James is on that in there right now. I gave him the cue, and he's on it. But no, back to the point that I was making regarding Zubac here. It's going to remain to be seen. This is like a multi-layered, whether or not this is going to work. And then you have to factor in the guys coming back and how healthy that this team can remain. I have full confidence in the return of Tyrese Halliburton. In fact, I will say this right now. I will sit before you and tell you that he is going to be even better. I think he's going to be kind of like Lee Majors. And you're saying, well, wait a minute. What do you mean Lee Majors? You mean the actor Lee Majors? Yeah, that Lee Majors. Steve Austin, the $6 million man. Steve Austin, not the Steve Austin that he would immediately recognize if I said that because he's a wrestling guy. But Steve Austin, the $6 million man, I think he is going to be, quote, bigger, stronger, and faster. Some of the things that maybe we would, is it fair to say, some of the things regarding Halliburton that we would have been critical about would be strength, capabilities of guarding, being strong, being able to stay in front of your guy. I think a lot of these things are going to be better with him. And you already know about the shot-making ability, especially the clutch shot-making ability. And certainly, as I mentioned earlier, the elite-level willing passer. I think you're going to have time to really sit back and watch and soak things in. I think without question, he is a student of the game. Firm trust that he's going to flip that switch and come back, and this team's going to play off of him. Firm belief right there. With Zubac, though, just the two things stand out. Face-up game or lack thereof, no three-pointers attempted, thus no three-pointers missed or made. And that, to me, being a big part of the Pacer offense, at least that's a big part I saw. Was I just watching Miles Turner? It really didn't matter. Because I still say that that's a big part of it. I think it's a big part of it because it continues to scramble the defense. Yeah, defense has to think about something else. It is always good. You ever play the game of basketball and you go, if I'm guarding this person, at least I don't have to think about this. I don't have to worry about that. The more worries you give the opposing team, the better off you're going to be. The more issues, the more thoughts you give them, the better off you're going to be. And taking that asset away and not replenishing that as a starter with starters' minutes would, to me, be just a tad bit problematic, at least on the surface. And if you remember yesterday, I asked Rick Carlisle that very thing, and he said, well, this is something we'll see if we can work with, and we'll see what happens right there. Pacers and Bucks later on tonight. You're not going to see his debut this evening. Some guys are back. Some guys are still down. We shall explain coming up a little bit later on. Pacers and Bucks tip times at 7:30. That is a 7 p.m. coverage beginning here on The Fan. Last word at 6:30. You're going to hear a combination platter of yesterday's Rick Carlisle call-in conversation and Bobby Marks coming up at the 6 o'clock hour because Bobby Marks will join us. And he'll get down to it. He's a former general manager, so he can eyeball a couple of different aspects coming up at 4:30 from ESPN. He can look at the fit of Zubac on this team and whether or not what I'm suggesting that you could critique is of value or just me being full of hot air and bullcrap. And that is that portion of the offense. And then wondering a guy that's never played at that particular pace. Remember, he's always played at the pace of a couple of dudes. Of James Harden and Kawhi Leonard, that pace was about that. He was a go-getter. We'll talk to Bobby Marks about that and then about the finances of it, how helpful that is to get a big that's under contract for the next couple of years moving forward right there. Bobby Marks is going to join us about that coming up at 4:30. You know, one of the things yesterday, I was a tremendous fan of Benedict Mather, and that goes without saying. Tremendous fan. You know, I love the fact that he went at it hard. I love the fact he didn't care about anything else. There was no smooching or kissing or arms around everybody and kumbaya after games with him. You know what he did? He got his ass to the locker room. Why? Because he either beat you and wanted to go to the locker room, or if you beat him, he sure as hell didn't want to shake hands with you or play grab ass out there after a loss. I admire that. The one thing, I don't know if we'll ever know this for certain not, that I talked about yesterday with Matherin, is whether or not he would have accepted his situation here. Because if you remember, when I was talking to Rick yesterday, I thought Monday against the Rockets, I thought to me that was exactly what you wanted out of Matherin. You saw a guy that let the game come to him, didn't force anything, played on both ends, was strong on both ends, was strong late in the game offensively. I thought that that's what you wanted. But the one thing that we didn't talk about yesterday, because clearly he wouldn't answer anything like that, would be whether or not the Benedict Mathurin wanted to accept his role here. Some may suggest that he wanted to start. He wanted the starters' minutes. He wanted to try to be the dude. And knowing that that would not be the philosophy around here, the one question you would have about Mather, and I think this is a valid question, is just how much he, longer term, wanted to be around here. I think that's fair to ask. I think I give him enough love and respect out of his game, and what I like about him as a player is that is something that you could, especially if people do bring it up and kind of wonder themselves, I think it's common ground and reasonable to think about. All right, discussion to be had. If I missed you yesterday at 239-1070, first, let me apologize. Second, let me tell you, you have the option of phoning today. 317-239-1070, that is the number. It is very fortunate you don't have to have a multitude of numbers to remember. Also, 317-239-1070. If you want to slam a few texts in here, that would be outstanding. I'll read those son of a guns, too. I got to read the one. Some guy sent me something at 3 a.m. last night, and I was described, like, I almost took offense to this, James. I was described by, and his name was Todd, and he spelled it T-O-D. So, you know, automatically, this guy's a complete dork. Who spells it? You know who spells Todd T-O-D? I got one for you. One example. Do you know what this is?
I do not.
One of my favorite films of the late 80s, early 90s, but mostly late 80s. Parenthood. The film Parenthood. I've talked about this before. The actor Keanu Reeves. It was a very early role for him. And if you remember, he was in love with the teenage girl Martha Plimpton. I have no idea why anybody would want to do that. But at the time, she just kind of seemed like a cross between somebody you wouldn't want to spend a lot of time with. But I'm sure in real life that's not the case. That's why she's an actress. However, his name was Todd, and it was spelled T-O-D. And I always thought that Ron Howard put that in the film Parenthood, the director, the writer, because Todd was supposed to be kind of a dumbass. So it makes sense that this Todd last night at 2 a.m. was a complete dumbass. He described me as a fat pud that constantly interrupts people. A fat pud.
Pud?
I'll be honest, I kind of want to take that. I thought I don't look at myself in the mirror as, quote, a fat pud, but I kind of want to use that in the future. Is that okay?
Absolutely. I've never heard pud before.
Fat pud. I think pud's kind of a weenus. Like a wiener?
I wouldn't know.
What the ski jumpers allegedly are injecting right now.
Oh, I did see that.
The hydraulics in their puds. Fat pud. Wow, I could be incredibly offended by it. I'm not. I think I want to take it and use it again. Is that okay? Can you be called something and then really not like it, but maybe like it enough so you can use it on somebody else? Is that fair? I'm 56 years old, and I don't know the protocol for that. That's why I leave this question up to you, and you guys can answer it. Fat Pud, Todd, T-O-D. Yeah, Ron Howard wrote that in Parenthood because Keanu Reeves, Todd, in Parenthood was supposed to be a complete dumbass. So now it all makes sense. This Todd is a complete dumbass. But I do like Fat Pud, and I may rip it. I may rip that if you're not careful. No, the point that was being made on Facebook last night, James, was I interrupt people. And what I like to say is I will interrupt, but I'm also trying to herd. You ever see the film City Slickers and Billy Crystal?
I have not.
I'm trying to get the herd. I'm trying to bring the herd in. And sometimes the herd goes different areas, and I got to herd them back in. So if I interrupt, I am trying to bring the herd in. That makes sense. Stream the app, HD Radio, AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. We got Super Bowl 60 coming up. We got a Clippers angle for you coming up as well regarding Zubac. Promise you that. Bob Lovell, college basketball, high school basketball. Hopefully Don Fisher's going to join us. We'll see coming up a little bit later on. Bobby Marks of ESPN as well. The Stream the app, HD Radio, AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Friday, don't go anywhere unless it is right here, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Hey, John here for Daisy Brand Dips. You guys ready for the weekend? You guys ready to host a party? You know what? You're not ready to host a party if you don't have Daisy Brand French Onion Dip or Daisy Brand Ranch Dip on that table. Don't shortchange those you invite to your party, your football party, without that. Because believe me, vegetables, wings, crackers, chips, it is simply not the same without Daisy Brand French Onion or Ranch Dip. Daisy Brand, the makers of the greatest cottage cheese. That's the low-fat cottage cheese on the planet. Brings you supreme, elite-level dippage for your party, or just simply put, for that around-the-house snacking. Make sure you have Daisy Brand in the kitchen, ready to rock. Daisy Brand French Onion Dip, Daisy Brand Ranch Dip. Find Daisy Brand today. Make sure you tell everybody, hey, I heard this from JMV. Daisy Brand Dips, your favorite grocer's refrigerator. Hi, I'm John. Allow me to explain to you your destination location for the weekend. You guys ready? Do you need to jot this down, or do you have a really strong memory? The District Tap. Of course you have strong memory. Why? Because you've been there before. So many shows we have done, and we know this to be great. TV's everywhere. Incredible happy hour specials. There is nothing more happy than a Friday afternoon happy hour at the District Tap. Clearwater Crossing, downtown Indy. Damn good food, TVs everywhere, entertainment for you too, live music on the weekends. That is the District Tap that we all know. A destination location for great food, incredible fun, and the happiest of happy hours at the District Tap. For more info online, thedistricttap.com.
The Ride with JMV.
Excuse me, sir. There's been a little problem in the cockpit.
The cockpit? What is it?
It's the little room in the front of the plane where the pilots sit. But that's not important right now.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, the birthday of this man, I felt it's appropriate here to rickroll you. Never going to give you up. Rick Astley celebrates a birthday today, James. Do you feel like you're rickrolled? You're rickrolled officially. Happy birthday to Rick Astley, who has never been on this show before. Pud in the Urban Dictionary is a slang term that can mean different things, James, such as genitalia, a stupid person, or a fart.
Oh, really?
It can't be a fart, too. So I was described a fat pud. So what do you think that Todd, T-O-D, which is a stupid Todd, meant? Fat pud meant fat genitalia, a fat stupid person, or a fat fart? I got to put that up there. We got a poll question for what he meant by calling me a pud.
I do have another potential definition. This is a medical definition.
A fourth layer of pud. Yes.
It's also a peptic ulcer disease.
Sweet.
Whatever that is.
I don't think this Todd's smart enough to come up with that one.
It does sound gross, though, doesn't it?
I think wieners and farts and stupid people would be right up his alley. True story. Andy Moore, Automotive Group Hotline. By the way, Bobby Marks of ESPN, less than an hour away. This is our good friend Bob Lovell, Indiana Sports Talk. Has all new meeting later on tonight. It is sectional semifinal for the girls. Friday night, it's a busy college basketball weekend. The weekend ends in Super Bowl 60. He is just incredibly happy to be on board tonight, tomorrow night on Network Indiana. Hello, Bob. How are you?
Hey, John, I love coming on, especially the lead into the intro where you're talking about farts and stupid people and genitalia. So, I mean, makes me feel at home. Thank God I'm providing some sanity to your audience.
Yes, it is. Well, listen, I thought you're from Johnson County, so this would be okay.
No, really, thank goodness I feel good about myself because sometimes I'd worry about the intros.
Let me tell you, it is an absolute hassle for me to look in the mirror every day, Bob. It is. I just kind of wonder where this entire thing. Yeah. Well, I mean that is all just kind of window dressing. I'm talking the inside. The inside is very puddish right there.
Well, you should feel better. I mean, you have great hair. You've lost a significant amount of weight.
Yes.
You're just you're a handsome man. What else do I need to say to keep showing up on your show every Friday? I think I've covered it. So.
I do love it. You got a sectional semifinal for the girls Friday night. Is it just me? And I know this has been the case for a while, but it seems even more magnified now that you have very few haves and a whole lot of have-nots in terms of girls basketball in the state of Indiana, because a lot of these games, are simply put not competitive.
Yeah, I think that's it's maybe pretty well put. I think it's normally you'd like to think semifinal Friday is really one of those great nights, and I think it is. But there are some. I mean, there's some really good matchups. I mean, I think that there are some that don't live up to the bluster. I think HSA and Knowlesville to start off with locally would be a great matchup. I mean, those are two teams that have played well at certain times. Knowlesville's struggling a little bit. HSC's number 7. Obviously I'm partial to my Quakers. I mean, out in Plainfield tonight, you've got Ben Davis. Pretty good.
Yeah. Who's in charge of the Renaissance over there, by the way? I just interrupted you because I am a fat pud. But who's in charge of the Renaissance over there in Plainfield? Because you got it all the way around in sports.
I think you do. Obviously, I think they've always benefited from great leadership, starting at the superintendent level. The building principals are great. Obviously, I'm biased. I mean, I'm awfully biased about it. I've always thought that they've had fantastic coaches and teachers, and so I'm not at all surprised. Quakes play Brownsburg. That's always a great matchup. Brownsburg's sectional. Obviously, that's who's hosting that one right there with Plainfield. So that's a good one. And Roncalli, who doesn't like? I think the Roncalli matchup with New Pal tonight in 3A is a great one too. A lot of people obviously think Silver Creek and Roncalli are the top two teams in 3A, and Silver Creek's at home against Charlestown. So, but John, I think your original question is a valid one. I don't know that it's as pronounced on the boys' side as it is the girls, and sometimes I think there are more better teams right now this time around on the boys' side. There are some really, really good teams on the girls' side, but I think you have more of them and more balance on the boys' side.
I am here to tell you that I am going to start politicking for Coach Sims at Roncalli to get a raise. You think they'll like me down there for that?
I think you just helped him out right now.
he can get a raise, and and Coach Warnick kicking it a raise because they got things working in hoop right now. It's good to see.
Yeah, they do. And I think, there are plenty of examples where you can have peaceful coexistence between your boys and girls programs. And I think, quite frankly, that a lot of schools have that where, the message is sent starting with your football team and on down. We expect to be good. We expect to play for championships. And certainly that's the case, I think, on the south side of town.
I'll tell you what, the fellas, by the way, are looking for and Fishers is really in line to be one of the great stories. I mean, it really is. And you can play off of that. But you mentioned your Quakers of Plainfield. Angelos Kid's a fantastic player. Yeah, Luke Ertl of Mount Vernon. Right. Crown Point is the armpit of Indiana, up in the region area there. They're the outlier here. But Jeff's got Pike retooled and going again. It's just a really interesting dynamic in that top 5 in 4A right now.
Well, it really is, and I think you're right. You point out Crown Point is outlier geographically, but they have one of the best coaches that people don't know, and that's Clint Swan. He's been there a long time. He's won a lot of games. He is as good as it gets, quite frankly, in terms of coaching. You're talking about great coaches in our state. If you're not having him in the conversation, you're making a huge mistake. Tremendous guy. And they're legit. They're a good, solid basketball team, and you have to pay attention to. But you're right. I think you look at that top 5 or so, top 10, if you will, in boys basketball. I don't know who the favorite is, quite frankly. I mean, they're playing better and better right now at this time of year, and so that's why I think it's going to be such a fun tournament. But I think this girls tournament is the same thing. I'm not sure, who your clear-cut favorites are. There's going to be competition clearly at the top spots in all of them.
Yeah, there is. I know. Once you get to the sectional semifinal, and certainly to the final and to the regional, you really start getting the matchup that you're looking for. But it does become evident there are a lot of schools out there that don't have much of an opportunity right now. That's just kind of the way that it is. I don't know if that's the dynamic of the movement or just schools having it in gear when others don't. But certainly you saw that in the regular season. You've seen that so far in the sectional. But it does align to be some really good dramatic stuff beginning tonight, coming up tomorrow night, and then going into the regionals. Bob Lovell of Indiana Sports Talks on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Boys 3A, Silver Creek, Cathedral, Princeton, Northview. The Knights, that has always been a really good program over in Clay County. They're showing it at 14-4. Columbia City, and I mentioned, you from Plainfield in the Renaissance. How about the Shelbyville basketball program for a minute?
I love it. I love Johnny Hartnett. I used to do a camp every summer over at the Shelbyville Boys Club. His dad, John Sr., is the longtime director of the Boys Club. Johnny was there as a 5-year-old, and I've known him, worked with him, loved him since that particular time. It's a great story. He's a former player. He's done it the right way. He was an assistant. He worked his way up and has done a lot of good things. He's got a group that's got some experience, know how he wants to play together awfully well. So it is a great story. There's no question.
To Bob Lovell of Indiana Sports Talk, the Miners of Linton, Greene County, 13-3 and 2A Oak Hill. I think this was something I mentioned to Greg Rakestraw back on Tuesday too. Paoli is back at the forefront in Class 2A, unbeaten this season down in Orange County at 16-0. Bob.
Paoli's a great story, John. You're right. They have been a little off the radar in recent years, but right now they're as good as anybody, and I think it bodes well when you look at 2A. You mentioned Linton and others. There's a lot of space for some teams to emerge in 2A, but I think Paoli has done awfully well. Oak Hill, obviously. Westview has a championship under their belt. Park Heritage is a team, John, that you need to pay attention to. This is a loaded senior class. They've been winning a lot of games. People over in that part of the state have been looking to this team to do great things with this particular group because of the experience and how much they've been together. They toughened up their schedule. Longtime coach Rich Shelsky knows how to coach. So it's another one you have to throw in there to the mix that I think really, really good teams in 2A.
Rich Shelsky, by the way, if memory serves, a former Bloomfield Cardinal. Was he not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Back in the day. So has a very good son as well. By the way, when you used the term loaded senior class, for me at Eastern Green in 1988, it really meant something entirely different.
Well, I'm here. Look, I'm here to provide sanity. I'm also here to lob them underhand to you.
I appreciate that. All right, you're going to get it started tonight, tomorrow night. I know tomorrow night you'll have recaps of Butler, IU, and Purdue all in action coming up tomorrow as well. Bob Lovell of Indiana Sports Talk. It is a pleasure, pal. I appreciate you. We'll do it again next week. Enjoy the weekend.
Thanks, John. Have a great weekend.
It is Bob Lovell of Indiana Sports Talk. Yeah, they had a loaded senior class in 1988 at Eastern. It meant something completely different. That's because I was running all the time. Guys had me running. Anything I ever did, I got to run for it. Do they still have to run? Do you still have to do lines, floor lines? Are you allowed to call them suicides anymore? They were called suicides back in the day.
They were still called that when I was in school, but I'm not sure about
God, I had to run
days.
everywhere. And you know me, running sucks. Unless it's on the basketball floor, I don't mind that. Like recreational running, any of that running sucks. I was in trouble every minute. I'm such a bad example. No wonder I'm going to play until I'm dead, because I'm trying to make up for all that lost time. It's me in a nutshell. Quick break. We'll come back. Bobby Marks going to join us. I believe 4:30 for Bobby Marks here of ESPN regarding the deal yesterday. Law Murray for The Athletic covers the Clippers. The Zubac's angle of how he was utilized there and how the Pacers can look for him to be healthy. By the way, no Zubac in Milwaukee coming up later on tonight. We'll give you the rundown of the available Pacers, those that are unavailable. 7:30 tip time, 7 o'clock. Your coverage begins later on tonight. Right here on The Fan. All right, quick break. We'll come back. I got your calls. If you're on hold, bingo, 239-1070. We can do that. It is a busy weekend. If you want to lob in your calls for the Super Bowl and Super Bowl 60 on Sunday, you can do that as well. 239-1070. Text line number 317-239-1070. Don't go anywhere. It's 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Hey, it's John here for the best in plumbing. Lance, local team, LD Smith Plumbing and Drains, the 317-927-7186. Hey, one of these days, this white stuff out here is going to melt, and the water's got to figure out where it's going. But you know this to be true. It will go somewhere. Make sure the drains in and around your home are clog-free, because if there's a clog, there are problems. You don't want problems. You want the best in plumbing to make sure you can sidestep potential issues. Plus, maybe your pipes have been compromised with the extreme low temperatures this winter. Make sure everything is running the way that it should. Plus, you can add this into if you ever need an emergency plumbing situation and you need somebody to address that, LD Smith Plumbing and Drains. Lance and his local team. Here's that number. Write it down if you need them right now. That's great. If you need them later, that's also great. But know that the best in plumbing has your back. LD Smith Plumbing and Drains. 317-927-7186. Online, ldsmithplumbing.com. Oh, I'm John. I am so happy that I went with QC Kinetics, and you will too. Struggling with chronic knee pain. Gonzo now, thanks to QC Kinetics. So the hoops until 11 o'clock last night was feeling good, feels good 4 or 5 days a week. And you can regain what you like to do the most, but maybe you had to put on the back burner because of some sort of chronic pain by utilizing QC Kinetics. Find out today if you're qualified for those innovative treatments. Call 317-559-PAIN. That's 317-559-PAIN for a free, no obligation consultation to let QC Kinetics see if indeed you do qualify. Across the board, you're not going to find anybody better in regenerative therapy than QC Kinetics. PRP, stem cells, and more. Knee pain gone. If you want to get back on track, you can. QC Kinetics can help you. Give QC Kinetics a call and see if you qualify today. There are 2 locations in Greenwood and in Carmel. That's 317-559-PAIN. Call QC Kinetics. Tell them I sent you today. 317-559-PAIN.
The Ride with JMV.
Well, we're waiting.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Oh, that's nice. A little Peter Gabriel re-entry right here. JMV takeover tomorrow night. This is 70s Peter Gabriel. One of the best concerts I've ever seen is this guy. JMV Takeovers tomorrow night, by the way. Tonight, down at Brown County Music Center, it is Yacht Rock Review. I'm going to look for you guys down there. I'm heading down right after the show. I haven't seen the guys in Yacht Rock Review in a while. So we shall check them out tomorrow. Now, if you can't see, I'll check that out tonight, I should say. 7:30 down at Brown County Music Center. Shout out to Christian and the gang down there. That is a great venue. Now, if you're not making it tonight, I will tell you, we have free tickets for you when Yacht Rock Review hits Ruoff coming up in the summer. That's coming up a little bit later on. Meantime, Brant and Fisher says, yes, we still make the fellas run. James, I think somebody has a mixed up text line number here. You ready for this question?
Hit me.
I have a question for the pilots. I have a son who is in aviation. Peachtree City, Georgia. He loves flying. He has a private license. My question is, why is the flight hours different in other countries? In the U.S., it's $1,500, but internationally, it's $250 an hour. Peachtree City, Georgia.
Yeah, I think they're a little bit confused.
They sent me that. JMV. Yeah, don't do that when I talk.
That was great timing by me
weird,
right there.
I know it. JMV, there's an old Adam Sandler character from his old comedy albums where he almost seals the deal with a woman, but ruins the mood at the last moment. In one of them, he ruins it by saying something about his pud. True story. We just found that out today, if for nothing else. To tell you. Yeah, seriously, though, Jeremiah Wheatley has this pegged, the herder of callers. Yeah, the reason why I sometimes interrupt is because I have to herd the callers in a direction. Not a lot of time to get there. Just so you know. And I want you to have the best out of what you get. Not to suggest they're not giving you the best in their answer, but if I want to go a little bit further and I have to expedite the process, I reserve the right to do that. Not to be rude. Quick break, we shall come back. So Law Murray for The Athletic covers the Clippers. We'll get his thoughts on Zubac's. Bobby Marks, bottom of the hour. This is like a Zubac's 4 o'clock hour. You guys ready? You're going to know everything you need to know about Zubac's coming up on the other side. Stream the app, HD Radio, AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Become a AAA member today. Got your back on the open road wherever you go on the open road. AAA.com. Just download that to your smartphone, hit the button, and sign up today. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Hey, John, for Andy Moore, Buick GMC, 131st, State Road 37 in Fishers. You guys ready for the new car buying experience that blows all others away? Contact my good friend Eric Wilson. My good friend Eric Wilson will show you the way in that car buying experience, which really starts with the inventory. And the inventory is what you eyeball that's available, because the one thing about this whole thing that you want is to be able to drive off the vehicle of your choice. And that's what you're going to be able to do at Indiana's Best. Andy Moore Buick GMC. Also, incentives to buy, which is a big old fat coupon to save money. You got that with Indiana's Best. And the service after the sale to make sure you maintain a higher life expectancy of the chosen vehicle. You're going to go with the best. It's an all-encompassing experience. Elite level with my friend Eric Wilson and Andy Moore Buick GMC, 131st State Road 37 in Fishers.
The Ride with JMV.
Excuse me, Robo. Any special message for all the kids watching at home?
Stay out of trouble.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
I was going to bring up Skylake. My friend Mouse is putting together Skylake. I brought this up the other day in Hamilton County. All-encompassing fun place, baby. Explanation coming up. Hey, by the way, James, I got to have this ready. This is the anniversary of one of the greatest hip-hop albums of all time. 3 Feet High and Rising. Do you know what group put that incredible late 80s album together?
I do not.
De La Soul.
Oh, really? Nice.
De La Soul is also a part of what band that just, I think, put out something new? The Gorillaz. 3 Feet High and Rising. One of the better albums. So, Say No Go, Me, Myself, and I, something like that a little bit later on to bring us back in. Bobby Marks at the bottom of the hour. The Zubac deal, the nuts and bolts financially, and also the fit here we shall talk about. I brought up, I think, the good reasons why it was necessary, but also some of the things you may be a bit skeptical about. You know, being able to keep up the pace. The lack of a face-up, a stretch five in this case, as you used to have, which it is great with high ball screen action. You can dive, go to the rim, but what happens when you go back up and all of a sudden you got a guy that doesn't shoot the three, can't shoot the three? You no longer have that threat. All stuff we talked to Rick Carlisle when he called on the show yesterday, the head coach of the Pacers. That podcast at 1075thefan.com. Pacers Bucks coming up later on tonight. That is at 7:30, 7 p.m. Your coverage begins. That's coming up later on tonight on The Fan. Meantime, Butler here on The Fan tomorrow. That is Butler and Marquette. You better not lose that game coming up tomorrow in Milwaukee. Goodness. It's already a bad season. It goes haywire and awful with a loss there. 1:30 coverage begins tomorrow. IU Wisconsin down in Bloomington. Tip time is at noon, 11 a.m. with Don Fisher. Your coverage on 93 WIBC. Boilermakers and Oregon coming at you. That is tomorrow at 1. Meantime, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, we're going to go to the absolute best with the background on Ivica Zubac, the big acquired yesterday by the Pacers in the deal with the Clippers. Covering the Clippers for The Athletic, Law Murray's kind enough to join us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline on this Friday. Hey, Law, thank you very much for the time. How are you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. And shout out to y'all bringing that De La Soul album out.
Am I wrong about that? Is that top of the shelf? Give me your favorite, top 2 hip-hop, classic hip-hops of all time. Let's see if we're on the same page with this, Law.
Man, you're going to have to hit me on another show with that because I don't think y'all got all the time for me to be spreading about what I like about the hip-hop game. But, yeah, I'm going to give y'all De La Soul, and we'll keep it at that for February 6th.
My favorite dude of all time is Rakim. Did you know? Rakim, favorite dude of all time, but I do love De La Soul. They've actually been on here before, and 3 Feet High and Rising is as top shelf as it's going to get. All right, so we brought you here to talk about Zubac and the translation from what you witnessed over the years with the Clippers, and really a game that he did elevate with his play, defensively, offensively, on the glass, and more. How do you think that translates here?
Man, I love the fact that the Pacers value him as much as they did. And I'm very curious to see what that looks like because, as you mentioned, the offense that Zoo thrived in with James Harden, and before that, the teams that Zoo played on with the Clippers, they didn't really feature Zoo at all. And they're very different than how the Pacers have been playing over the last couple of years with Tyrese at his best. And we're not even going to, this year's a complete wash. Like, this year doesn't exist as far as I'm concerned, as far as the Indiana Pacers and what that foretells for the future. But, I mean, the kind of player Zoo is, Zoo's a really good roller. He has gotten so much better as a decision maker out of those short rolls. And he's an outstanding post-up presence. His footwork and his hook shots, his ability to get into the paint just outside the restricted area and score efficiently is pretty good. how that works with the way the Pacers like to spread and pass and, quite frankly, just run, I don't really – it's going to be an adjustment for Zoo. I think that's the safest thing I want to say about it. I do think Zoo makes the Pacers' defense a lot better than it has been over the last several years. He's a rock inside. He's a guy who is a smart defender, not just a sturdy one. Like, he never gets in foul trouble, which says a lot for a player of his caliber. So I love it defensively. And he's going to finish offensively. He's going to be a smart player, a high-floor player, but he's not going to be a guy that really fits with how they played before. That's something I got to see how he adjusted at.
That's Law Murray of The Athletic, covers the Clippers. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline talking a little Zubac transition from L.A. to the Pacers. What I'm saying in a critique, is that reasonable to you about the pace, being able to keep up with the pace, and then the lack of a stretch five face-up game? And I'll start with you on pace because as a player, you will know, anybody will know if you hoop it on any level. Everybody says they want to play the style the Pacers do, but not everybody that wants to play it is equipped to be able to play it. Do you believe he can make that transition from that style to this one?
I think he can, mainly because Zoo, he takes outstanding care of himself. He's a really smart player, and I just feel like he's adaptable. I mean, the nice thing watching him work with James Harden is that James did bring out a level in Zoo that wasn't previously seen. And I think Tyrese Halliburton is the kind of point guard that, I mean, Zoo can grow with him as well. Like, Tyrese is taller than a lot of people are going to remember. I mean, Tyrese is about as tall as James. He's not as sturdy as him from a stout standpoint, a strength standpoint. But Tyrese being 6'5" is significant. It allows Tyrese to be able to see over players and make passes that, those 6'2" guys can't really make. You're more traditionally sized guards. That's a big thing for Zoo. Zoo's always played with taller guys. He just hasn't always played with the kind of guys that are great passers. James was a great passer, and Tyrese is as well. It's just going to have to come in a different style because obviously James plays a very deliberate style of offense, and Tyrese is anything but that. Tyrese is more catch him if you can. And so the biggest thing is just going to be Zoo's such a great screener. He's a really good roller. There's a lot of pick and roll involved in how Indiana played. And again, I'm going off of the team you saw last year, not as much this year. And I think that's going to be something that the Pacers are going to tap into. The biggest issue for Zoo is you're going to have to keep him in motion because, again, you can't do with him like you did with Miles Turner and spot him up. Like, it's been a while since Pascal Siakam played with a center who doesn't really have that 3-point range.
Right.
Pascal does a lot of his best work inside the 3-point line, and you're going to have to redesign how things are going to go if you're going to play those two together a lot. So I think all those things, it's worth discussing until you see it play out. And you're not going to see it really be realized until next fall.
It's funny. I had mentioned this to Rick Carlisle when he called in yesterday. Is he capable? Because he doesn't have a 3-point attempt. I don't know how many he has in the career. You've covered him with the Clippers, but
he's made one his whole career, and it was in a tight game too.
One in his entire career. I guess what I asked Rick, he said, we'll see. But I said, is there a potential for the evolution of a face-up game, or at least in Law, I guess what I'm saying with this is not somebody that is going to knock it down on the reg, but somebody that at least is going to be a threat that you have to recognize where they are in that particular action. Is there ever potential of an evolution in that capacity at all?
Man, I asked Zoo this question every media day for 4 years straight, and he just shakes his head. What Zoo would like to probably break out is his mid-range. Like, he rarely was allowed to shoot the ball outside of the paint with the Clippers, and that started with Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers pretty much killed that for him. But he had that in his game with the Lakers. He began his career with a semblance of a mid-range shot. and he's not a good free throw shooter, but he's an adequate one. So there's some touch there, but I think that touch is going to be limited to inside the 3-point line if it ever evolves. Like, no one's going to be concerned with this is Zubac's perimeter game. It's not happening. He's a career 72% free throw shooter. He might be allowed to take some mid-range shots, but I don't think you're going to see a Brook Lopez type evolution from Ivica Zubac. If it happens, I can't wait to see him and just have that conversation with him, because I told him a long time, over a long period of time, that's what I'd want to see. And it's never been a serious thought. Like, Tyronn Lue never believed that was ever going to happen. So I don't think y'all need to be speaking into existence if you want to. I just don't see it.
You're kind of giving me a bit of a Valanciunas vibe right here. Should I be receiving that?
I don't really love that part either. I mean, the thing with JV's always,
yeah, I know.
He's always had more of a perimeter game to him. I mean, JV made 33s in his 7th year as a pro, and he was still in his mid-20s. Like, Zoo turns 29 next month, and that means that if he plays in the playoffs for the Pacers in 2027, he'll be 30 years old. Again, I just feel like you get to a certain point where a guy is who he is, and that's just going to be that. I mean, if he goes back overseas and works on that game and comes, I'm going to be shocked. Like, the thing with JV is very deliberate, but he has always been a guy who's comfortable, using that elongated shot fake and then getting to his spot in the paint. Zoo needs to camp out. Zoo needs to have that touch, and he needs to go right to work. And if you don't bring a double team, he's going to smash you. Ask the Indiana Pacers about that, because that's exactly how Zoo played against them in fall of 2022. That was the best game I ever saw from Zoo. And he fouled out of that game. It should have been a 30-30 game. So Zoo's a different player. I don't really love comparing Zoo to guys. He's his own player. He's a really effective player in his own right and in the vacuum. He's going to have to make adjustments, and Rick Carlisle and the Indiana Pacers are going to have to make adjustments as well.
That is Law Murray, covers the Clippers for The Athletic. He is on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I will tell you this. I'm a tremendous fan of Benedict Mathurin, and if for nothing else, he is all ball all the time. There's no grab-assing going on after the game. He goes out there to win. He goes out there. And I think that is a personality that you don't always see at that level of basketball. So what excites you? What excites the Clippers about what Mathurin can be in a Clipper uniform?
Man, I can't wait to see what he brings. The Clippers traded James Harden, and they got Darius Garland. Darius is an all-star player in his own right, but I will say this about Darius. He doesn't generate free throws like James does. Benedict Mathurin has the ability to generate the kind of free throws that really changes. Like, every offense needs a foul merchant. I was saying this in the playoffs last year because, the Pacers were not a great team at drawing fouls, right? And they were going up against Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, one of the best in the league at doing it. Benedict Mathurin, maybe it's a Canadian thing, I don't know, but he has this ability to get to the line. I thought that was the best thing that he did as a player. It's the other parts of his game that I feel like needs flushing out. Maybe not as much the shooting, but the playmaking, the defense, the consistency if he's not going to have the ball in his hands, that kind of thing. But I also just like the swag that he might bring to the Clippers. I mean, I think every team, I was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan growing up, you know what I'm saying? We identified that it's not just your weapon, but it's your character that goes into teamwork. And so Benedict Mathurin is the dude that's going to talk smack and get guys riled up and add a level of competitiveness that a team needs, an edge. And I think the Clippers need that. They have long had a bunch of quiet dudes in their team, guys that work on a, yak. And sometimes that can be taken into excess, but everything can be taken into excess. I think that energy is something that the Clippers need. That's something that I noticed with Benedict Mathurin. I saw it in the playoffs. DeAndre Hunter, a mild-mannered guy who went to my high school, by the way, two-hand shoves this dude in the middle of a playoff series that the Indiana Pacers wound up winning. I think that's there's so much more that Benedict is going to be able to show with the Clippers. I thought he'd get a chance to show it this year. There's a lot of reasons why it didn't happen for the Pacers and Benedict this year. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm sure Ben is as well.
All right, so you're in Southern California in L.A., and I found myself watching the Lakers and the Sixers last night. You feel readily available to give me a break really quick on a Laker player? You feel comfortable?
Oh, yeah, man. I watch dude, I cover both teams.
Okay.
Man, so I'm going to always
I
be
trust
around.
you on this. Well,
Yeah.
Jake LaRavia is from Indy, and I noticed he gets a lot of run with this Laker team. I like the way that he fits in as a supporting cast member. How has that gone for the Indianapolis native out there to this point in your eyes?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, Jake is the only player on the team who's played every game. I mean, his availability has been huge. And it's something that I talked to him about not too long ago. I was like, look, man, I know you banged up. I know you playing through a lot, but, like, it's huge that you're being available because he struggled with that in his early career with Memphis. And even last year, Sacramento, he didn't finish the season. He got hurt, and that cost the Kings in the play-in tournament, which is crazy to think about. We were talking about the Kings being a disappointing play-in tournament team, and you see the Kings and how ashy they look now. But, like, Jake was a great target for the Lakers considering what he had shown or what little he had shown, relatively speaking. So for him to be available and now he's a starter for the Lakers, that's been huge. And you know, he's been the best version of himself. He's got a lot of things in his game that he could clean up. He could definitely stand to be a better defensive rebounder. His shooting is better off the dribble than off the catch, which is a problem when you playing with Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, and LeBron James. Like, he's got to get better with that catch and shoot three. And I feel like he's a little timid sometimes. Like, that, he's a big-bodied guy who loves to talk about how he bullies smaller guys in college. And it's like you would like to see that show up more often, to be more assertive. But, I mean, he's been getting run for the Lakers for a reason. They identified him as a player who could help contribute, especially after they lost Dorian Finney-Smith. And I will say that the Lakers made a good decision there. You'd rather have Jake Arabia in 2026 than the version of Dorian Finney-Smith that exists now.
Just interesting you say that, too. And this is my evaluation over the years of the Lakers and when I see in LaRavia. You mentioned he sometimes passes up shots or defers in some moments for others on his team. That's, to me, an evolutionary process, too, because Reeves, from what I watch, used to do that. He no longer does that now that he's solidified. I think that's just kind of a maturation process.
Yeah, it's all about getting comfortable, you know. Confidence is something that when you talk about basketball players, and I've really felt this so much, one, because I'm a basketball player who used to play at a competitive level. Like, I know what it's like to be on a team and to have to make a team and to not make a team and to come to grips that you're not going to play in the NBA, or in my case, not going to play Division II college. You know what I'm saying? Like,
sure.
I get all of that. You know, you can be confident on one moment, and then you get to the next phase of your basketball journey, and you're searching for that again. I've seen so many 5-star McDonald's All-Americans who get to a point where 5 years later, they're just happy to get a chance to be a professional. And you need to reestablish that confidence everywhere you go. Sometimes guys have irrational confidence, and they still need to validate their ability to play the game. You know what I'm saying? To fit in with the team that they're on, to mesh with a coach, to be able to compete and succeed more often than not. And so, you know, that's what I've experienced with Jake as well. Like, Jake I thought there was a point in time where he wasn't going to make it as an NBA player. Like, he didn't work out for Memphis. And then he worked out. And then he got traded to a Sacramento team, and I thought he was going to do well there before he got hurt. And again, the Lakers, they took a shot on him. They identified him as someone who had his best years ahead of him. And that's looking like a good deal right now. And so there's more for Jake to show, and he's on a team where sometimes he'll be able to show some things, like his ability to play with energy and to consistently bring it on both ends of the floor. And then there's some times where the defensive version of him you're not going to see, because I believe he's a guy who can play with the ball in his hands and be featured more. You saw that at Wake Forest, you know, like, he had the ball in his hands and he played really well. And you're not going to see that. Like, you're just not going to get those touches playing on this Lakers team, a team that not only has those top-end on-ball players, but they play slow, bro. Like there's not a lot of possessions to go around.
Yeah.
And it's going to be reflected in that.
So Law Murray right there. He's from The Athletic, covers the Clippers, but we wanted to talk a little Jake LaRavia as well with the Lakers, the pride of Lawrence Central High School here in Indy. Law's on the Indy Moore Automotive Group hotline with us, man. Thank you for the breakdown on Zubac. We appreciate that. Enjoy Benedict Mathurin because he truly was one of our favorites around here. He was fun to watch. I love the attitude, and it's going to be interesting to see with this new landscape how things look for him out in Southern California. Have a great weekend, Law. We appreciate it. We'll do it again soon.
I appreciate it, and keep an eye on Kobe Brown. That's what I'll leave y'all with.
Oh, really now? Oh, I should ask about that. Hold on. Don't leave us hanging. Why should we keep an eye on Kobe Brown?
I feel like just the conversation we were having about Jake LaRavia, Kobe Brown, I was interested to see if his next team was going to be one that wanted him or if he was going to be just traded to get waived and have to do the G League thing or the overseas thing. Kobe's shooting is why he didn't work out with the Clippers, but he does so much as a basketball player. He's a great dude. He wants to make it. He works hard. And I believe that he's an on-ball player. And just as much as I think it will be an adjustment for Zoo because he's going to a team that runs and plays fast and all that, I think Kobe Brown, if Rick Carlisle puts the ball in Kobe's hands and asks him to just go and play with his hair on fire, I think Indiana is going to have a guy who could possibly contribute. That guy, he's a sharp passer. He has ball handling skills, and he's a big body, but not a guy who's out of shape. Like, he's in outstanding shape for a 6'7", 250-pound player. I think Indiana's style of play fits him better than the Clipper style of play, and we'll see what he does with the new opportunity.
Well, I appreciate that very much. You have a great weekend out there. We'll do it again soon. Thanks for the updates on both those guys. Appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
So, Law Murray of The Athletic regarding the Clippers. That was really good stuff, and I'm glad I got to sneak Jake LaRavia in there as well from Lawrence Central and of Indiana State University. Hey, by the way, the Indy Ignite tonight, James. The Ignite in Grand Rapids at the Fishers Event Center coming up later on this evening. Grand Rapids Rise and the Indy Ignite, 7 o'clock tonight. I want to say that's on Channel 13 WTHR. Am I wrong about that? I'll make sure I'm right. But here's what I want you to do. If you're going out to watch the Indy Ignite, I want you to shout out our good friend, Emma Halter, who was on the show back on Monday. The libero, Emma Halter from Roncalli High School. Shout her out and say you heard Emma on the show back on Monday. The Indy Ignite in Grand Rapids tonight at 7 o'clock at the Fishers Event Center. Have you heard from Don Fisher yet? Anything from Don?
I have not, no.
Not. Hopefully we get Don in the 5 o'clock hour. I know we got Bobby Marks coming up on the other side. More of the NBA trade deadline stuff. Hey, your calls too at 239-1070 on what is going to be a busy weekend, including Super Bowl 60. Stay right there. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan. Oh, it just cut out like that, did it? Hey, Kev, what happened to you? I know what happened. Big Red Liquors. Who's got that party going on? Is it you for the weekend big game? How How about the big game, grab one thing on the way home situation with Big Red Liquors, 100-plus location, state of Indiana, powers the JMV takeover every Saturday night on B105.7. You ready? 16-ounce beer packs, watch party favorites, including Bud Light, Coors Light, Miller Light. That's 16-ounce, 18 Packers. Get a couple of bucks off of that. Bud Light 16-ounce 12 packs. You're going to save there, too. How about the cold beer specials, including 24 packs of Modelo? $5 off. That is nice. Modelo Oro, too. That is the low-calorie Modelo offering. 90 calories per bottle with Modelo Oro. Great deals on that. Michelob Ultra, the superior light beer Michelob Ultra, 16-ounce 12 packs, $3 off. And, of course, across the board, you're going to love High Noon 8-packs. Your savings there. Elijah Craig Small Batch and Cuervo Authentic 175s. You're going to save $4 for this party weekend at Big Red Liquors. Make sure you stop by and you supply for the party going on this weekend with Big Red Liquors. Also, it powers the JMV takeover every Saturday night on B105.7. 100-plus locations, state of Indiana, one near you. To find it online, that's bigredliquors.com.
The Ride with JMV.
I am the cream, the cream of the crop. And there is no one that does it better.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Are you guys ready? Yeah, this is not Funkadelic. De La Soul, James. Here it is. Significant because why? This date in history, 1989, one of the greatest hip-hop albums of all time, was released. De La Soul, 3 feet high and rising. So true. I remember I was rocking in college back in the day. This is one of the favorites right there. That's a JMV Takeover exclusive coming up tomorrow night, 6 until midnight on B105.7, the All Request Saturday night. Meantime, hey, more on the Zubac deal, the trade deadline with our front office expert of the NBA from ESPN. He is the pride, along with the great Rick Smits here locally, of Marist College, probably rocking the same thing with De La Soul back in the day. It's about Bobby Marks on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Hello, Bobby. How are you?
I'm good. How are we doing?
Bobby, fantastic. So what were your thoughts yesterday on the Pacers pulling that trigger on the Zubac deal?
Aggressive. I mean, it's certainly aggressive. I think it's obviously it's a move for next year. And I think it's, somewhat similar to some of the other teams, whether it be Utah or Washington, teams that are headed towards the lottery to try to, be aggressive and add a piece that's really meant for next year when Halliburton comes back from that injury. And I think it's certainly at financially, at least, it's at a lower cost than it probably would have been to retain Miles. But, yeah, I mean, as I say, when you got to get something, you got to give up something here. And, the picks are certainly a little bit rich, but I think if you're in the Pacers front office and you're trying to, win a championship, whether, next year, I think that's kind of the risk that you're going to have to take.
The guardrails of unprotection, if you will, for this pick coming up. And there's a lot. We're going to be on Mother's Day all dialed in to the draft lottery. There's no doubt about that. I think that this deal ultimately, whether it's going to be really good or not, all hinges on just this Pacer team having good fortune. So with that in mind, how would you, if you're running the organization, handle the situation for the remainder of the season here?
Yeah, I mean, in an ideal world, you would want to be picking in the top 4. I mean, I think because that will definitely springboard you to to getting an impact player. I think it's hard to basically, and I see teams jockeying with player minutes and who's not playing and all that. I do think listen, that presents a challenge, and I think the league will probably have their antennas up a little bit more during the second half of the year. But the lottery odds are a lot different than they were. And just because you go in there at number 3, doesn't mean you're going to stay at number 3. I mean, there's a better chance you go to 5. So I always say, don't screw around with the lottery gods. Like it will take care of itself and stuff. But I think the ultimate goal is, I've heard the discussion. Should the Pacers start winning so they can try to get to, to 10 and everything? I would say no. You just kind of like let it just take its course. And if you have a top 4 pick, I think that would be terrific for the organization.
It's Bobby Marks of ESPN, a little analyst work on this Pacer Clipper move for Zubac on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. You brought up something that we haven't talked about around here. Rick Carlisle called on the show yesterday and kind of explained the whole situation. That's one thing. But you mentioned the antennas of the league up in the second half of the season. How do they eyeball or observe what's going on in terms of a team that may or may not be willing to tank in such situations?
Well, I mean, I think injuries are injuries. If a player's hurt, it's one thing. I think if a player is resting and it's consistently, I think that's going to be, that's going to, draw the attention of the NBA. I think, the hard part is, you're watching, the Utah last night played, I think the Atlanta, and, like Larry Markkinen, doesn't play the fourth quarter. They substitute a starter for a two-way guy at the end of the game, right? Like, so you're kind of you're kind of manipulating the game that way. I don't know how the league can control that part of it, but it's pretty obvious as far as what the direction. The Jazz are trying to keep their pick. If it goes outside the top 8, it goes to Oklahoma City. Same with the Wizards here. That part, I don't know how the league can get a handle on, basically like on the court kind of manipulation.
Is it in terms of how this deal goes down, whether or not the Pacers end up with 1 through 4 on just the level of this deal? And even before we see Zubac play in a Pacer uniform with guys he's going to play with next year, as you mentioned, this is for next year to start. Does that what make this deal, and if that's what makes this deal bad, if you have the misfortune of not getting 1 through 4?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think it's kind of a double-edged sword. I think if you don't get 1 to 4 and this team, does not progress far in the playoffs next year, I think it's a combination. You can make the argument if you're giving up the 5th or 6th pick in the draft, for example, and this team gets back to an NBA Finals, it could be worth it. As far as how Indiana sees the draft, maybe there's 4 or 5 good players they see, or 4 players they see, and they're not as high as kind of the middle of the lottery and everything. But yeah, I mean, I think we'll know a lot, as you said, kind of when we get to May, and we'll see where they go, in the standings and everything. And but as I said, the good fortunes are is that you want to be picking in the top 4 here. You view Zubac as somebody that can play the up-tempo style that the Pacers play? I do, and I know it was a little bit slower, certainly with the Clippers with Harden and Leonard with that group and stuff. But I just look at him as a guy that was in contention last year for Defensive Player of the Year, and I think that's going to be his identity and everything like that. Probably not someone who's going to be able to stretch the floor, but someone who kind of plays around the rim a lot. But yeah, I don't have any issue as far as him getting up and down.
So one of the things that people liked about Miles Turner, which sometimes was a rarity around here when he was here, was the fact he was multifaceted in terms of high ball screen action. I discuss that all the time. Whether he goes to the rim and you have an elite level willing passer in Halliburton that can deliver, or he picks and he pops for a 3-pointer, and whether or not he's in rhythm and knocks it down, to me that's not what matters. It's just the threat of a defense having to pay attention to it. You're not going to get that with Zubac. Is that something you believe that he could maybe evolve into, or are they going to have to think of something else in that capacity because it's just not going to happen with him?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've seen centers evolve. I mean, I was in Brooklyn or New Jersey and Brooklyn with Brook Lopez, who for 6 years really didn't stretch the floor at all, and then kind of decided to improve on that. He wound up getting hurt. And that's something that really is, he can't become more of a stretch 5 that he's really taken advantage of. I'm not saying that that's what Zoo has to do, but I do think that, there is certainly another element to the game, and I think that element would certainly help Indiana, and if that's something they want to look at, and I'm sure when he gets there and he gets to see how this team plays, it's something that he can take upon himself.
Transformational players in the top 4? From what you've seen so far in college basketball, do you like what you've seen of these guys being able to add to a team that wants to be, again, playoff worthy like the Pacers next year? That top 4, do those guys bring you that?
They do. They're all different. I think certainly with Darren Peterson in Kansas, who's probably the most explosive out of the group, and it's more about him staying on the court. His minutes have fluctuated just because of his inability to kind of finish games and everything like that. So, yeah, I mean, I think AJ, prototypical big wing, can play both sides of it, has really played at a high level. I know they lost a bunch of games lately and everything like that, but and a terrific kid. And then, Cam Boozer from Duke, big 6'10". I think that would be interesting if you're at 2 or 3 and you're deciding and you already got Pascal and you got Zoo, as far as what you want to do there, but yeah, I do think where you're drafting in the top in the top there, certainly you can find an impact player.
It has been, and I mentioned this yesterday, the wildest ride in the amusement park could be called the Halliburton Achilles, because we are here, Bobby, because of that. It's amazing, the ride from Game 7, second quarter, OKC back in June to where we are right now is incredible.
Well, I mean, not even his. I mean, yeah, the injury to Halliburton was devastating, and the counter argument, you could be like, well, look at Boston right now. Tatum hasn't been out, but I think what's different is that this team was devastated in October and November, and it was a rash of hardship exceptions coming in and out and different lineups that Rick had to play. Every player probably on this roster was injured except for probably Siakam, who's been the most durable out of that. And it shows you how things change awfully quick in the NBA and everything.
So Bobby Marks of ESPN, the front office expert, he's kind enough to join us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I should ask you about Benedict Mathurin. I like him and his personality. How do you think he fits, and will we see him evolve as a player in Southern California?
You probably will. I mean, it's a Clipper team that certainly needed youth. Him and Isaiah go there. They go with Darius Garland, who was traded for Harden. Basically kind of free reign to do, to give them some, much needed scoring and everything. And I think it could be put him in a really good spot as far as for him to continue developing. I think where he was with Indiana, they were, they're faced with a decision when it comes to the off season as far as, whether to pay him, especially when you have Halliburton coming back, you have an influx of guards, you still have Nesmith and Nembhard and Shepard. And so, I think I think it worked out for right now. I think it's worked out for both sides. And so I think he'll do well with the Clippers.
So Rick Carlisle called in the show yesterday, Bobby, in closing, and mentioned we're seeing now the rise once again of the NBA big man, considering, the way that you look in the 4s and the 5s with some teams around the NBA. Do you believe that to be true?
Oh, I do. I did. We talked about it yesterday in the show. I thought there was kind of somewhat of an arms race as far as for teams trying to get big. And I think when you looked at Zoo and, some of the guys that didn't get traded, AD gets traded, of course, but, Sabonis doesn't get traded, the guy that was talked about a lot. Daniel Gafford doesn't get traded in Dallas, a guy that we've talked about a lot and everything. So I do think it's changing. I think we're changing back. I do think there's a priority to have a big on your floor.
We don't know, one more thing before I let you go. We don't know exactly the interest in other bigs the Pacers might have had, whether it was Gafford or Kessler. Do you think this move in terms of Zubac was the best one they could have made for a player that best fits what they're doing moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think, listen, I wouldn't have not traded the same package that you traded to the Clippers for Daniel Gafford. I think if we tried to do multiple seconds, then I don't know if Dallas would do something like that. But yeah, it's kind of like, if you're going to jump in deep, and you might as well just stick both feet in there. And I think that's something they did. And I think they got the best available, center that fits their timeline.
So Bobby Marks, the front office expert for ESPN. You can catch him with a breakdown of the NBA. He's joining us on this Friday on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Always a pleasure, man. I appreciate you. We'll jump back in with you a little bit later and see what's happening at the end of the season. And again, as we approach that draft lottery, that's going to be must-see TV around here. It's going to be interesting.
Sounds good. Appreciate it.
You got it, Bobby. Thank you. Bobby Marks on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Mother's Day lottery. We're all going to nerd out to the highest of levels. Never before. Front and center watching that bad boy. All right, we have a busy Saturday of college hoop. IU, Wisconsin, noon tip time, Bloomington. 11 a.m. your coverage, 93 WYBC. Butler Pride, check that. Butler Marquette here. That's at 2 o'clock in Milwaukee. 1:30 coverage begins on the Fan. Boilermakers and Oregon coming up tomorrow afternoon at 1 as well. So we got that working. I should mention, too, Braylon Mullins, UConn St. John's later on tonight in the Big East. That is going to be must-see TV. Braylon's going to join us later on next week. Josh Schertz, I didn't tell you this. Josh is going to join us, the head coach of St. Louis, on Monday's show, James. So we're good to go there. I believe at 4 o'clock for the head coach of the Billikens coming up on Monday, and a recap of Super Bowl 60 and a conversation regarding that coming up. Don't go anywhere. The Stream, the app, the HD radios got you covered here too. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Thank you guys for watching on this Friday. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Express Pro Tire and Auto. 13 plus Central Indiana locations. Got to give a quick shout out to Mike Alcorn. I mentioned brand new now. I think this is week number 2. He's been running things up at the Keystone Way in Carmel location. Go in, say hello to Mike, and then get whatever you need done to maintain winter road readiness. It might be tires, maybe it's brakes, maybe it's brake pads, but I will tell you that this winter so far has been hardcore on your vehicle. Make sure you maintain that winter road excellence with your car, truck, or van at Express Pro Tire and Auto. Mike's up in Carmel. You got the great folks again down at US 31 and Stop 11 on the south side. I know Anthony is staked out over in Plainfield off of Shadeland, off of East Washington. There's going to be a location of Express Pro Tire and Auto nearest you. Everything you need, as I mentioned, especially this time of year, to maintain winter road readiness. Check it out online, that location nearest you. And by the way, some of the deals and request an appointment or request a quote, you can even find coupons online. ExpressPro.com today.
The Ride with JMV.
We're not going to fall for a banana in the tailpipe.
You're not going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe?
It should be more natural, brother. It should flow out like this. Look, man, I ain't falling for no banana in my tailpipe.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, Nate Bargatze, the comedian. A week from tomorrow at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Number 30 on the text line. You want to do that, James? At 317-239-1070. Nate Bargatze, comedian. Fieldhouse next Friday. Check that. Next Saturday, the 14th. Number 30 on the text line at 317-239-1070. You guys were asking me a little bit earlier because I mentioned this to Jake in our crossover brought to you by Love Heating and Air. Awaiting a nod from Doug Bowles or somebody over at IMS regarding the entertainment this season of Carb Day. If you remember a year ago, we had both Bret Michaels call in and the All-American Rejects. That was the show. The one thing I loved about Bret Michaels, because he brought up, BT Doo and Derek White, friends of the show, and a lot of people, a lot of the listeners that served in the military, he brought up on stage and recognized them during that Carb Day show. That, to me, was one of the, because it hit home, one of the more memorable Carb Day performances because of that recognition of Bret Michaels. I still may be a little bit early on this. It may be late February, early March. I know before it's even gone longer, maybe even into the early portions of spring. But the reason why I bring it up is because normally when we do talk about it, that's when you start feeling good about the weather starting to change and getting out of this winter blah and doldrums bull crap. Like, I come out of my house this morning to come in here way, way too damn early. And the sleet was falling. I'm thinking, you gotta be kidding me. So I'm with you. Anything that would point to blue skies, sunshine, warmer temps, and this bullcrap snow and winter being gone, if you talking about Carb Day, I'm down. Like later on tonight, Brown County Music Center. Yacht Rock Review. See, that's the type of music that brings you a little summertime and warmer weather joy. I'm down with that. Brown County, by the way, too. The Brown County Music Center, if I see you down there, you owe me a cocktail. But the Brown County Music Center is an outstanding venue. I'll look for you guys down there coming up later on tonight. I should mention this as we head to a break. I know our executive producer, Todd Meyer, had mentioned this, and I did look it up. This was from a post from Boilermaker assistant Brandon Brantley, my point guard, one of the toughest dudes I played with. Back down from nothing. We drive up and down 65 just going to hoop. In between, we shared a joy for music, conversation, and practical jokes. I appreciated every minute of it. Rest well, my brother. Evidently, Porter Roberts has passed away. And if you remember, Porter Roberts was one of the more entertaining and really hard-nosed players for Gene Cady back in the day. So RIP and Sky Point there. That was what was posted a little bit earlier in the afternoon. Quick break. We shall return. Boilermakers do play tomorrow afternoon, 1 o'clock. Hosting Oregon, Butler, and Marquette here on The Fan. Tip time, 2 o'clock, 1:30 coverage begins here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. And IU in Wisconsin coming up tomorrow. Pre-game, 11 a.m., 93 WIBC. Tip time is at noon. More on that and more from you at 239-1070 coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. If you want to get something off your chest, if you want to talk some sports, we got that and more for you coming up. Don't go anywhere. It's 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Hey, it's John for WeGrowHairAndy.com. You want the option of your real growing hair? Here's the number that you call. Talk to Darren Andrews about that right now. 317-522-2995. That's WeGrowHairAndy.com. Artist Robotic FUE, laser hair therapy, and the boosters shortly thereafter that maintain the real growth of your hair. You can have it back just like it was back when you were 13, back when you thought you were going to have flowing hair forever. You can get it back. 317-522-2995. Tell Darren Andrews that I sent you. WeGrowHairAndy.com.
The Ride with JMV.
We're putting the band back together.
Forget it. No way. We're on a mission from God.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Bobby Marks a little bit earlier today. Rick Carlisle called on the show yesterday. The Zubac deal. If you missed that, we'll re-rack that coming up at the 6 o'clock hour. JMV, this is Keith. While I was on hold, I asked my Gemini AI app what Todd on Facebook, that's T-O-D, which is essentially Todd spelled like a dumbass, T-O-D, meant when he called you a fat pud. Are you ready? Here's what evidently he meant. In most contexts, fat pud is a British slang term that refers to a heavy steamed dessert pudding. It's essentially the culinary equivalent of comfort food that leaves you feeling very full. That's evidently what that means. Now, what Gemini said about me, are you ready? JMV is a staple of Indianapolis sports radio, and his show, The Ride, is famous for its 100% authentic and often self-deprecating style. Because he leans so heavily into being a regular guy from Owensburg who loves music, beer, and indie sports, he's created a culture where listeners feel comfortable and are often encouraged to talk trash.
Gemini said that? That's
I
awesome.
guess. In addition, I think there was like one more here that I'm missing. Oh, yeah. You ready? One final thing before we get to Don. JMV has always branded himself as the guy at the end of the bar. He doesn't present himself as a fitness guru or a polished athlete. He leans into being a regular guy from Owensburg. While he isn't a small man, he carries the look of a typical Midwestern sports fan. That's what Gemini has to say about me.
Let's go Gemini.
The Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I'm going to find the truth right now. The voice of the Hoosiers and friend of this show, Don Fisher, joins us. Did I just aptly describe myself according to Gemini? Would you agree with that?
I'm really uncomfortable talking about this.
Well, if I didn't put you in that position, then what the hell good am I, is what I have to ask.
Well, and I'm not going to answer any questions.
I thought that was relatively close in a lot of ways.
I think it is. Yeah. I think it is, John. I mean, you're a good man. There's no doubt about that. And you're what I would call equal to me in being a plain Jane, if you know what I mean.
Yes, we are. We are brothers in that capacity, aren't we, buddy? We are. There's no doubt.
We are.
And I don't mind it. Hey, speaking of which, our table for you guys tonight?
Not tonight. We are going to, and it's been a while since we've been there, and obviously we want to go as soon as possible. However, tonight we are going to go over to Center Grove High School.
Yes.
And watch the ladies play.
Right.
A really good high school women's basketball team. Never have seen them play, and there are a couple of players on their team, of course, who we have an interest in. And so that's why we're going to go over there. We're going to go over there, I guess, and see a game at 7:30.
Well done. I forget who they play later on tonight, but they are a 23-0 and a very good squad, and a lot of good girls on that squad too. A lot of good ones. So
yes,
very
exactly.
top notch.
So we got a couple of friends that have youngsters on that team, so we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, meantime, I'm going to Yacht Rock Review in Brown County, Indiana, later on tonight.
Yacht Rock Review, huh?
Yeah, I'm going to get a little bit of the summertime yacht rock effect in Brown County, in Nashville, later on tonight.
Wow, that's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah, it'll be a good time. I did hold up your honor without both you and Susie last Friday. I sat at the bar at our table and had a couple of beers for you guys since you weren't there.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'm sure Joe and Ginger did too.
Yeah, they did. I'm sure they did. Here he comes again. Go tap another keg. Here he is. Yeah. Hey, do you know where you've been all over the map here in the past month? This has got to be. Has this been incredibly fun, or did he take a couple of days to recover from all this travel?
Well, it's a combination of both. The travel has been extensive, as you know, and having been, I think, to, Atlanta, Miami, Los Angeles now for a couple of ball games, and then, of course, we were at Maryland during that stretch there, too. And Rutgers. So the month of January has been really full of a lot of travel and some really good play and some really great play from a football team that finished and won the national championship.
Nothing quite like that. Don Fisher, voice of the Hoosiers, with us. We do make that transition to basketball, and it was such a good thing in double overtime. What a thriller at Pauley Pavilion to win a week ago, coming up tomorrow. And the follow-up, I know that it's really tough to do that two-step and win both games in Southern California, but I did come away on Tuesday night with a level of disappointment because it felt like that game was there to win, and you just offensively didn't, unfortunately, find enough from a couple of dudes that had found, or at least one that had found their rhythm here recently. It was still disappointing, even though normally that's a tough two-step to make.
It is. It's a very tough trend. It's a tough. First of all, you're going out there, you're there for 5 or 6 days, whatever it may be. And when you do that, obviously you're not sleeping in your own bed. You're not, and it's a long time. And there's plenty of time to do nothing out there or there's plenty of things to do out there. But generally speaking, the coaches are not going to allow you to go out and party, so to speak, while you're out there in L.A. And they still try to get them things to do. Of course, they go to a movie, that kind of thing. They go to dinner in the evening. There's plenty of time to be there, but the practice time and all that kind of thing, especially after you've just played a double overtime ball game, and the first night you're there, or the second night you're there actually, because you get there on, I think it was Thursday, and then we played on Friday, and then of course we come back and play on Tuesday, or was it Saturday? I've lost all track of time and days, John.
I've tried to keep and take notes for you right here, but yes, it is tough for you to keep track of. Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, I felt like that was a very winnable game, just like you did. I really thought that if Indiana played up to its capability in this matchup, that they would win. The only guy that did that truly was Lamar Wilkerson, who shot, 11 of 20 from the field, 5 of 12 from the three-point line. He was 6 of 6 at the stripe, 33 points in the ball game. He was sensational. The rest of the team, unfortunately, went 15 for 43 from the field. That's just not good enough, and nobody else scored in double figures in the ball game. Connor Enright was terrific again in passing out the assists with 8 of those in the ball game. And Indiana did a nice job of taking care of the basketball and just had 10 turnovers to the 15 that USC had. But they got pounded on the boards again, 40-25, which was the most disheartening aspect of the game in my mind. I just thought Indiana would be better in the ball game, and I know Coach DeVries said in the post game that he felt like his guys looked tired out there. Understandable, of course, when you're on a road trip like that, and again, you're not in your own bed and those kinds of things. Those are all excuses, and I think they're legit. But at the same time, you got to find a way to get through that. And in the second ball game, they just did not. And unfortunately, they fall in this ball game. The one thing I will say about this, John, is this. I think this team gained a lot of confidence in the 3 games that they won in a row there. I think they're back to playing the kind of basketball they're capable of playing. I don't think that they played quite up to it in that game against USC, but they've got now an opportunity here in the next week, in the next couple of days, I should say, to play 2 very tough teams. But there's no doubt Wisconsin is beatable, just like Oregon will be on Monday, and they played them with only 1 day's rest in between. So the key here is to get your rest when you got the opportunity.
Yeah, we'll get to that Wisconsin game with Don Fisher, voice of the Hoosiers, in just a second. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. And maybe you can help me out with this. Maybe I don't obviously know enough about it, but I often wonder, and I especially find myself wondering after Tuesday night with only 6 minutes, why not more in that situation of Trent Sicily, the freshman? Because that didn't make sense to you. Now, have you seen anything as he hit some clunkers as to why maybe he doesn't get the amount of time that people like me thinks he deserves at this point of the season?
Well, I think one of the things that I see from Trent, and this is not a knock on him in any way, shape, or form, but he hasn't shot the ball nearly as well since the start of the Big Ten second half of the season, if you know what I'm saying. Once they got into January, he started struggling a little bit in the shooting department. He plays hard every time he's out there. There's no question about that. I think at this juncture, and he's a freshman. It's known that freshmen hit the wall at some point in their freshman years, and I just don't think he's played quite as well as he did earlier in the year. The competition obviously has gotten tougher, and you have to adjust to that. And I think Trent is going to be a tremendous player at Indiana. I think the next 3 years it's going to be special. And I don't think there's any question that he can help this team the rest of this season as well. I'm just simply saying I think at some point freshmen, generally speaking, do hit the wall. If you remember, Malik Renew did the exact same thing his freshman year. He started out like a house of fire, played great basketball, up until they got into Big Ten play on a consistent basis, and then he kind of went away for much of the rest of the season. And I'm not saying that Trent's gone away in any shape or form, but I'm just saying at this juncture, he's just not playing quite the way he did early on.
So Don Fisher, voice of the Hoosiers, with us. So Nick Boyd, John Blackwell, top of the list of defensive options with the Hoosiers having to really concentrate on backcourt. Is Boyd the one that played for Dusty at FAU a couple of years ago?
He transferred from San Diego State, so I don't think he played for Dusty. I could be wrong about that. Maybe he is the guy, but this is his 6th year playing too. So,
well, hell, he could have played for anybody. He could have played for Dusty's parents.
Exactly. He's from Garnerville, New York, and he's a San Diego State transfer.
Yeah.
I didn't get past that point, so he might be the same guy, but I just don't remember that, to be quite honest about it.
Yeah. So he and Blackwell in the backcourt can be dynamic. There's no question about it.
Yep, they are both really good, and they've got bigs too. Nolan Winter is a guy that can shoot it from outside. He takes a lot of 3-pointers. He's a 32% 3-point shooter, so he takes more than most guys that are 7 feet tall. And then they've got another big in Bielauskas, who is 6'10". He's just a freshman, but he looks like he's about 28 years old anyway. So, and he's from Lithuania, and he's a big guy. And they've got another 6'10" kid. Rapp comes off the bench. They've got a big ball club. They've got another kid 7 foot on the roster. So they've got a lot of bigs in this ball club. It'll be interesting to see how Indiana handles that. And the one thing that concerns you is how badly they got beaten on the boards in that game against USC, because USC had some size as well.
So that is the Nick Boyd that played for Dusty at FAU. He had 1 year at San Diego State, and now he's at Wisconsin in year number 6. That's a long time, Don.
Well, some of these guys have gray in their beards, so just so you know.
He may have played for Dusty before Dusty went through puberty. I'll have to ask. I'm not sure. But I will say this, at FAU he was good. He was one of those major players they had as to how they ended up in the Final Four. He was a major factor back when he played at West Palm for Dusty then, and a good player, and obviously at the top of that list of the scouting report. But I agree with you. Yeah, the rebounding, it was so problematic on Tuesday night, and that's probably at the top of the list of things we'll look at going into tomorrow's affair against Wisconsin.
Yeah, and the saddest part of that is that nobody rebounded well in that ball game, and the guy that's been rebounding the best for Indiana of late has been Tucker DeVries. He had 3 straight games in which he had 10 rebounds in, and he only had 5 in the ball game against USC. And again, that's not a knock on him, because he's going through a really bad shooting slump right now. He was just 1-9 in that ball game and has really struggled from the 3-point line as well. So hopefully he can bounce out of that and maybe do it against the Badgers, because this is a team that Indiana, I think, can beat them, but they're going to have to play some of their best basketball to do it.
This may not hold true in every game that they play, but it seems like in Louisville was prevalent to me, and then USC on Tuesday night. The really athletic teams are going, and we knew that going in, but especially those two teams or those two games really give IU fits, Don, on both ends. They do.
They do. There's no doubt. And again, it's hard for me to judge right now what happened exactly in that ball game, but I know that Coach said after the contest that he thought his kids looked tired out there. And when that's the case, I mean, if they were tired, if they didn't play with that kind of energy that they normally play with, they're not going to beat a lot of people, because they've got to do it in other ways other than just to be the most talented team on the floor. They just don't have that same kind of level of talent that a lot of these other teams have at this point. It's going to happen. I think Darren DeVries is a great coach. I really do. I think this guy really knows what he's doing, and they've got a basketball team that has, they've succeeded despite the fact that they're all new on the roster, number one, and then number two, how quickly they acquiesce to play with one another and how much of a team they look like when they're playing their best basketball, because they're fun to watch when they are playing at their best. And that 3-game stretch that they just had, including the victory over Purdue, was a perfect example of it.
6-6 in the Big Ten, this portion of the Big Ten campaign. Would you have thought that would be the case even before the season started for this group?
Yeah, I pretty much, at the beginning of the year, people were asking me what I thought, and I said I think they're going to be a really fun team to watch. I think they're going to be very good against a lot of the teams they play against. I would love to see them finish in the top maybe 7 or 8 of the league standings by the end of the year. If they do that, they'll probably make the NCAA tournament, and I think that's what they're striving for. But right now at 6-6. And that loss to Minnesota still pops up there, and you start thinking, wow, that was the one game that kind of got away from them that shouldn't have. But other than that, I think they've competed very well against just about everybody that they've played, but they're going to have to get a little bit better than what we've just seen up to this point if they're going to be in the mix to have a chance to go into the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying regarding this quick turnaround, too. You would like to be able to beat a team that's ahead of you in the standings, and then you get that quick turnaround against a team that has, in Oregon, struggled all season long. And then Oregon's going to play coming up tomorrow in West Lafayette against Purdue as well. So that's going to make it even tougher for them coming up on Monday. Yeah, taking care of that business is essential, I think, beginning tomorrow for IU and then going into Monday.
Yeah, exactly right. I agree. I think these are two games that Indiana is capable of winning. There's no doubt in my mind about that. Wisconsin, I think, as they always are, they're very tough because they are well coached. Greg Gard does a great job with that program, and they've got bigs that Indiana will have to deal with in this contest. I just think with a couple of days rest that they will have now going into this matchup, that they can get the job done. And I think Wisconsin would be a great quad one win for them.
In closing here, have you had any time at all I know you've been busy, to reflect on that whirlwind that was the college football playoff and the national championship in that time in South Florida? I still think about the memories that I have, and they're probably a little bit more socially substantial than yours because it was a working situation for you, but substantial nonetheless. It's incredible even to reflect right now.
It truly is, John. I mean, what Indiana did this year was not just spectacular, it was historical. And in my mind, there's no question in my mind, this is the greatest college sports story, maybe in history. I don't know that anything else that I've heard about or seen could top it. I'm not saying that I'm the know-all, end-all in that regard, but for my money, this is without question the greatest football story in the college level that we've ever seen. No question in my mind.
Yep. And among other stories, I think about this in terms of the Miracle on Ice. We've talked about this before. This time of year, you got the Winter Olympics in Italy, but that comes to mind back in 1980. This was, and it doesn't go away from me either. Normally, these situations fade because when you live in the moment, I think you magnify that moment even more. But that doesn't go away. It was still every bit as big right now as it was when it was all evolving going back in the month of January. It's incredible.
Yeah, it really is, John. And it's going to live in Indiana Hoosier Nation's fans' minds for the rest of their lives. There's no question about it. I don't know what's going to top it. Maybe 2 or 3 of these in a row, but who knows, you know?
How about Hoosier Hanks with the reaping the benefits of that greatness, too? Shout out to Hoosier Hanks down in Bloomington for that. I've never been there. Is that a good place?
Yeah, it's a great place. I mean, it's not the biggest place in the world, but we've had standing room only crowds for the football season, obviously, and basketball. We don't draw as many for the basketball season at this point. That's going to happen though in the future as well. But it's a good place to come and see a show. There's no doubt about it.
Is it better than the Holiday Inn where you used to do the coach's show back in the day?
Well, if I go where I need to go with that comment, I would probably get fired. So let's just not say anything forever, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, the Holiday Inn, the coach's show at the Holiday Inn. I remember the Holiday Inn had the Nightlight Lounge in there. That was a big deal back in the day, Don. Now, you were...
How long ago was that, John? That
was late. That was early 90s right there. You know, one of the greatest stories of all time was the night before IU played Michigan in basketball when it used to be on ABC. Remember those days when ABC used to have it?
Yeah.
And the night before, we were at the Nightlight Lounge, and Brent Musburger and the late Jim Valvano were hitting on a girl in my group like you would not believe. It was incredible. I mean, and Brent was absolutely smashed to a level where he almost needed a kickstand because he was about to tip over.
I met Brett Musburger one time, and I thought this guy's got to be a little bit of a character. So
he was a character. All right.
Obviously, you've definitely given me insight. I had insight that I didn't know I had.
Yes, the Nightlight Lounge. I don't even know how he did a game. It was like incredible. He was doing play-by-play for a game the next day. So that had to be like 91 maybe, I think, because I think Valvano passed away in 92 or 93. But, yeah.
I think that's right.
The Nightlight Lounge back in the day.
Well, by the time we took over there and had our shows from there, it wasn't a nightlight lounge.
No, I don't think. There wasn't much going on in there at all, I don't think, back in that day. So Hoosier Hanks it is for Don Fisher. So. Yeah. All right, pal. I appreciate you. My best to Susie. You guys enjoy the CG and the semifinal matchups later on tonight at CG. And, hey, just know the floor that you're going to be staring at later on tonight, I shot 80% until 11 p.m. last night in the Vandy gym. Just picture me scoring on everybody's ass like I did last night. Yes. Everybody until 11 o'clock.
John, do you just play for the pride factor, or do you play for money?
I'm out there to break necks. Breaking necks and cashing checks, Don.
That's why you're the man of the people.
I'm the man of the people. No pud here. I'm a man of the people. Thank you, pal. I appreciate it. Enjoy. We'll talk next week.
All right, John. Thanks, buddy.
Don Fisher, voice of the Hoosiers, know our table later on tonight. Shout out to Joe and Ginger at our table. 135 in Whiteland Road. Our table is fantastic. Don and Eric and John have you. 11 a.m., 93 WIBC, pregame coverage. Noon is the tip from Bloomington tomorrow. That's Wisconsin. That's going to be a matchup right there, especially as he mentioned on the glass and in that backcourt with Boyd and Blackwell. Going to be something coming up tomorrow. Tip time, noon. Quick break. We'll come back. Wells on the other side of ESPN Radio. And we've got a re-rack of Rick Carlisle, who called in the show yesterday as well, coming up at the top of the hour. Yacht Rock review tickets for Ruoff coming up this summer. Don't go anywhere. It's 93.5, 107.5, The Fan. How about this? I'm going to help you out in a lot of ways. If there's anybody that knows how to party, by God, it's me. You know that to be true. And I know my party would always have Daisy brand products on the table, especially Daisy brand dips, French onion dip and ranch dip. It is great for any gathering, whether it's something socially you're doing for a big game like this weekend, or maybe just you hanging out with a fam, or maybe you've got just a bowl on your lap and you're just grabbing and dipping as fast as you can. Crackers, chips, vegetables, wings. I said index finger. You got to be doing that one alone. You can't do that with friends and family and a party going on. But let me tell you this, ranch and French onion dip, Daisy brand is fantastic. Daisy brand, the makers of the greatest cottage cheese on the face of the earth. Daisy brand low-fat cottage cheese brings you expert dipping, especially for this weekend. Big game dipping with Daisy brand. Find Daisy brand dips in your favorite grocer's refrigerator today. Love Heating and Air. I apologize beforehand right here. Kendra has called a number of times saying, we want to get over and make sure the system is working the way that it should. And I have not scheduled a time just yet. That's just me dragging my feet. You should not do that. You should call 317-353-2141 STAT and get the experts, John and Chris Love, at Love Heating and Air to your place to make sure that your heating unit is working efficiently. Because if it isn't, you're going to be cold and uncomfortable in your home. And by the way, you'll be paying a lot more on your monthly bill to be cold and uncomfortable. Don't be that. Plus, if you need a repair, mention my name, get $95 off the service fee. The best in the business. And again, Kendra, my apologies. We're going to get you to my place here soon and make sure that my heating unit is working efficiently with the experts of Love Heating and Air. 317-353-2141. Again, if you need a repair, mention my name, get $95 off. That's love-hvac.com today.
The Ride with JMV.
But I'm a genetic freak, and I'm not normal.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Oh, Wells from ESPN Radio. Andy Moore Automotive Group Hotline. Go, Mike.
Forever, forever, forever.
No. Back with your baby. And it means so much to me. You're more precious than to raise a family. Yeah. And your mind. You can count on me. I never let you down. Oh, here we go, Jay. You and I never fall apart.
Oh, man.
You and I, right from the start, baby.
R&B quartet Jodeci and their debut studio album title track, Forever My Lady. Hey, our good friend Al B. Sure was a producer on that one too, right there. That is right. Any song that starts out with "So You're Having My Baby," are you down with it?
I mean, that means you're getting some work in. And by the way, you mentioned Al B. Sure.
Yes.
Did you watch the Diddy documentary?
I have not seen the documentary on him. I do know the background of Al B. Sure pretty well, though.
Yeah, I did not know Diddy came in and swooped up Al B. Sure's girl back in the day, man.
I'll bet he did. Al B. Sure turned down a scholarship to play football at Iowa. Were you aware of this?
No, I did not. And you might be the only person I know who has not seen the Diddy documentary.
No. Where would I see that, by the way, the Diddy documentary?
Netflix, man. It is, let's just say, bro. Well, first of all, my thoughts on Diddy changed when all the stuff came out.
Yeah.
And seeing the video of things, but it is, it's up there with that R. Kelly documentary. So you probably don't want to see it. And speaking of R&B.
Yeah.
Are we in there on the 19th with New Edition and everything?
I went upstairs today to make sure we're securing tickets. They've not let me down before, so I would not expect that this time. So, yeah, that's a week from Thursday, I believe?
Yeah, a week from Thursday at Gabriel's Fieldhouse. I can't wait to get up in there. I'm gonna tell Mike B that I'm in slightly better shape than Bobby Brown. Let me get up on the stage. I'll grow my hair out over the next 2 weeks, get me a Gumby cut. And I'll be up in there singing "Can You Stand the Rain?" If it isn't love, I got it.
Well, you know who else is going, right?
Who?
Manny.
Hey.
Manny. Remember, Manny disappeared for the 90-minute dump the last time we went.
Yeah, hey man, tell Manny that he needs to take something that'll cure his belly, his bubble guts, because he went from rolling with Tank and Keith Sweat. And then all of a sudden, he was out there chilling on the White Porcelain God.
I believe Manny dropped about 40 White Castles before he made that entrance right there.
Man.
Yeah, Manny is nonstop. He calls me everywhere. Saturday night, and Manny's wanting to go. So I thought, what the hell, man? Manny's going to go too. So yeah, we're gonna.
No, let's go. Hey, more importantly, how you doing? All right, were you okay when the news broke yesterday about Benedict Madeline getting traded to?
I was bummed because I like him a great deal and I love his attitude. I get it, but let's just face it. This all doesn't work, and what it's going to take to make this trick is good fortune. Because if they lose this pick, if they're not 1 through 4 in this draft, and the draft lottery on Mother's Day is going to be the tail of the tape right here, this is going to be not nearly as good. And then it comes down to how Zubac plays here. I like Zubac because they need a 5. I don't like it because he can't stretch the 5, and I kind of wonder how he's going to do running the floor. I get why they had to do it, but if they cash in on a top 4 selection after we've gone through this gap season of losing with them, that's going to make this deal.
Oh yeah, not definitely. It's interesting. I was at the game on Tuesday night against the Jazz, and I was hanging out courtside, catching up with some people. And Madeline just strolled on out. I'm like, yeah, my man, he good to go, man. He out there messing around. They out there basically got him wrapped up in bubble wrap to make sure nothing happens
before the trade deadline.
Yeah, I just I'm going to miss that attitude. I like the all-ball attitude. I like it because he doesn't grab ass out there before or after the game. He's out there to play. He's out there to win, and I think that is going to be an asset this team is going to miss, even if they do get the 5 that they absolutely need, which we know that they do. But then the stretch portion of that, they're going to get rebounding, Mike, and they're going to get offensive glass work, which, let's just face it, since Sabonis, they've never had around here. However, what you're going to miss is a face-up game or the threat of a face-up in a pick-and-pop situation without Miles or without that with Zubac, and we'll see how they adapt. Hopefully they do.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. But, man, God, can you imagine if they lost that pick though, bro? I mean, your radio waves.
Oh my!
The day after Mother's Day, that Monday. Holy smokes!
Yes.
First of all, I'm gonna come check on your sanity if they lose that first round pick.
Yeah, it's true. You know, Rick Carlisle called in the show yesterday on the way to the airport to talk it up. It's pretty interesting stuff too.
Did.
Yeah, he was pretty excited about it. So, and I don't know when's the last time I started the show and I was talking about it and somebody was on hold and James was like giving me all these high signs and stuff and I wasn't paying attention and it was Rick Carlisle. So Rick Carlisle got to hear my breakdown of the deal. I'm sure he was thrilled with that.
Hey, listen, the fact that he called in and went ahead and broke his loyalty to KB and James Boyd, that is major props to you.
Indeed. No, he was really good yesterday. I appreciate the fact that he called in. Chad Buchanan, by the way, is going to join us on Tuesday. I guess they have to pass physicals before the executives can talk about it. Hell, I don't know. But, yeah, Buchanan is going to join me coming up on Tuesday, from what he said, to talk that up. But kind of an interesting time, to say the least. In the gap season of a lot of losing, there has to be a payoff, and I think everybody expects that to be a top 4 selection, so hopefully this gamble is worthy of it.
Yeah. And then I hate to bring this up, brother, because right now it is for the state of Indiana. It is basketball talk, whether you're talking about IU or Pacers or whatnot. Man, but how much is that to sting if you're a Colts fan to see Mike Vrabel, who who always said was an underrated head coach when he was with the Titans, not only win coach of the year, but have his team in the Super Bowl in his first year.
Yeah, it's I think that Colts fans are mostly numb to the incredible levels of mediocrity and talking where you're going to go and never backing that up. I think that they're kind of numb to that right now. I don't really think it matters to them as much as maybe it might have years ago, Mike, and that's a bad sign. That's caught between apathy and just the fact that you're so used to this happening that you just don't get affected by it any longer. That's what I've noticed.
Man, that is a sad state for it to be like that. But you know what, though? There's no one to blame for where outside of the Colts organization because of what they have not been able to do for so many years now. I
say this all the time, just such a lack of return on investment. Just that, and every time they talk about how this is going to change and that's going to change, and whether it's decision making by them, a lack of execution by them, or the excuse of injuries, we've seen it all, have we not, Mike? We've seen it all in just being a drowning piece of the mediocrity of this sports team around here. We have absolutely the only thing we haven't seen is a change in that philosophy, which I guess is going to go on here forever if we're not careful.
Oh man.
Forever. It's like Jodeci. Hey, forever, my lady. Forever, your GM. Yeah.
Oh, brother. Hey, so you on tomorrow night, man?
Am I going over? Oh yeah, tomorrow night. Are you doing ESPN Radio tomorrow?
Yeah, but I gotta get a nap though, brother. Man, I'm on 11:30 p.m. to 1 a.m. Man. My old ass has to get a nap if I'm expected to be able to have some energy at 11:30 p.m. and go to 1 a.m. But the good thing is, the
90 minutes because it's all Super Bowl stuff.
Well, let me tell you this.
Who you got winning the Super Bowl?
I've got the Seahawks like everybody else does. I think they're -4.5 right now. I certainly would lay that and take the Seahawks. But, hey, take a couple of shots before you go on there and get all wound up. That'll help. I promise.
Hey, listen, if you're saying it's worth it, evidently it's worth it, man. Just like you're forever my J.
You got the, hey, I got to run here, but tell the fam we said hello, especially that girl I miss a great deal over there, okay? Tell her we miss her and to keep that thing between the lines when she's behind the wheel.
Hey, listen, I thought she was gonna be mad that I talked about it on the air last week, and she got a chuckle out of it. And that brother of hers, Brownsburg, plays Plainfield tonight in the sectional semifinals, and he had no interest in going until I said going to get dinner before going down to Plainfield High School. Can you believe that?
Come on, man.
That's how siblings are, man.
Yeah,
he's getting a free meal now. He wants to go.
Well, hey, you go over there and enjoy that. Yeah, that's just normally how it works. You enjoy that Brownsburg play. It'll be a good game later on tonight. So
it should be a good one, brother. Have a good weekend, man. And hopefully the folks upstairs have us up in the suite living the best life on the 19th, brother.
You got that right. Mike Wells of ESPN Radio. Check him out tomorrow night. Thanks, Mike. It's Mike Wells of ESPN Radio right there. Derek White wants to go as well. I do. Derek, I should have a fourth if you want to go. So me and Wells and Derek and Manny. I think that's one hell of a time right there. It's a week from next Thursday. New edition Tony Braxton, Boys to Men.
Just make sure Manny eats light before he goes to the concert.
So Jim McCann in Southern California, a trusted resource to this show and the JMV Takeover, suggests we need to get somebody named Taylor Mathis on this show. Look up Taylor Mathis on X. I'm going to leave this up to James and then you. Look up Taylor Mathis on X and see if you think we need to have Taylor Mathis on the show. Taylor Mathis responded and suggests that we do. Just curious. Quick break. We'll come back. Final time, re-racking Rick Carlisle from the show yesterday. If you missed that, call in regarding the Zubac deal and more. Top of the hour, last word after that. Pacers, Bucks tonight, 7:30 tip time, 7 o'clock. Your coverage begins right here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Let me give a quick shout here to Big Red Liquors, and this is a heads up to you to make sure that you are good to go for your parties this weekend. Whatever your party might entail, especially if it's the big game, you have big game savings going on right now at Big Red Liquors. 100-plus locations, state of Indiana, one near you, powers the JMV Takeover. On Saturday nights on B105.7, we're talking Bud and Bud Light. Great deals, ice cold right now. Miller Lite products, Coors Light products, too. Modelo, and Modelo Oro. That's the low-calorie beer, 90 calories with Oro. Great deals. You're going to save big there and save big on the Superior Light beer. That's Michelob Ultra. How about the other deals on High Noon? You can find High Noon Hard Seltzer at great prices going into the weekend, too. Plus that of Elijah Craig Small Batch. And anything that you're looking for to make that party even better, you'll find it at Big Red Liquors. Again, 100-plus locations of the state of Indiana. It's one near you. It all started on College Avenue in Bloomington back in 1972. It has grown to be the party supplier in the state of Indiana, also powering the JMV Takeover every Saturday night on B105.7. To find even more deals and the location nearest you, that's BigRedLiquors.com.
The Ride with JMV.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Yacht Rock Review. September the 12th at 8 o'clock. Ruoff Music Center. Number 30 on the text line. Let's go ahead and get that going at 239-1070. 317-239-1070. You want to go nationwide with this? Yeah, go ahead and take your shot at these Yacht Rock Review tickets. Number 30 on the text line. You're a winner. Great band. In fact, I'll see that band coming up later on tonight. I'll explain. But tickets for you for September the 12th, number 30 on the text line at 317-239-1070. That is a Yacht Rock Review. And Mike is in Brooklyn. I'm assuming talking Super Bowl and more at 239-1070 right now. Hello, Mike.
Yeah, JMV, what's up? Yeah, I got my answer. I didn't know who you would take in for the Super Bowl. You got the Seahawks. Right?
Yeah, I got the Seahawks. I'm going to lay the 4.5 as it stands. Right, this is probably going to be a mistake because I'm sure it's going to be low scoring, and Vrabel's going to grind this thing out, and probably will even cover that number. But I'm not very bright, so I'm going to go ahead and lay it. Give me the Seahawks.
Yeah, I'm. You're not alone. I'm on the opposite side. I really. I don't love the Patriots. I really like the Patriots. I think they're going to win the game. I don't know. Maybe I'm over emphasizing the Colts Seahawks game that the Colts should have won with Phillip Rivers. But I don't know. I think the Patriots are going to turn them over. I think they're going to turn over Donald. He's going to remember he's Sam Donald and
bring back the memories of that Minnesota exit strategy in the postseason a year ago. Yeah. Yeah. And, then since Chris Ballard's proclamation that the rivalry was back on, the Patriots have won, 2 or 3 Super Bowls with Belichick and McDaniels and Brady. Then they completely rebuild and they bring McDaniels and Vrabel in, and now they're back on top of the hill, all while the Colts are flatlining under the Ballard regime. So that's pretty much what I'm looking for. Got to make you a little bit sick, doesn't it, my brother? Well, I'll tell you what, you call it on Monday, and we'll recap that game together. I'm glad you got your pick in. Have a great weekend and enjoy that game.
All right, JMV, you too. Take care.
Mike in Brooklyn right there. Quick break. We'll come back. I'm going to lead you into our re-rack of Rick Carlisle calling in the show yesterday. We're going to the Zubac deal and more. Get you set for the last word, 6:30. Pacers, 7 o'clock, your coverage. Tip time from Milwaukee at 7:30 right here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
Talk about your Psalms. Talk about John 3:16. Austin 3:16 says, I just whipped your ass.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, welcome back to the show. Thank you. We got Rick Carlisle from yesterday coming up in a bit. This will take you to the last word. And Pacers and Bucks coming up later on tonight. I was looking at some of the things said about the Pacers deal. Lou Williams feels good about, quote, his Pacers going into next season. Remember Lou Williams of the NBA. Quote, I said I wasn't watching Indiana basketball. Remember that? We clowned on him for that. And then they went to the NBA Finals Game 7. Same season. I was wrong. So he likes the deal involving Zubac coming up later on. Or I should say that happened yesterday. Pacers Bucks coming up later on tonight. Be interesting to see how the Pacers play it the remainder of the season. Really good insight today. Bobby Marks of ESPN a little bit earlier. Law Murray covers the Clippers for The Athletic, was on the show. Bob Lovell, Indiana Sports Talk, also here. Don Fisher, voice of the Hoosiers, IU Wisconsin at noon tomorrow down in Bloomington. 11 a.m. your coverage on 93 WIBC. And Don joined us a little bit earlier. And we just talked to Mike Wells of ESPN Radio also a little bit earlier. All right, a couple of things, too. A quick shout-out. My girl Laurel. JY and Laurel are loyal listeners of the JMV Takeover every Saturday night. Look for Laurel at Yacht Rock. We're celebrating her birthday at the Holvey Hideaway and headed to the Story coming up tomorrow. Shout out to JY. The Holvey Hideaway down in Brown County. That's Brent Holverson, friend of the show. Betting analyst, Heaven Hill Distillery. Brent Holverson. The Holvey Hideaway is awesome down near Nashville. My man Billy Searing, who has yet to play any hoop with us, pickup-wise, I should say. A little shout-out earlier today. I think CG's got Southport, I believe is what he said. I know Mike was going to watch Brownsburg and Plainfield. Keep this in mind. It is semifinal sectional for the girls Friday night. And then, of course, the finals coming up tomorrow. Should be fun. Other games collegiately tomorrow here on the Fan. That is Marquette and Butler. 2 o'clock is that tip. That is a game. Marquette has been awful recently. Butler hasn't really been that much better. 1:30 here on the Fan with Mark and Nick. That is coming up tomorrow afternoon. Boilermakers and Oregon tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock as well. Now, the Pacers and Bucks tonight. Pacers and Raptors on Sunday, 2:30 the pregame, 3 o'clock. That coverage begins here. 3 o'clock coming up on Sunday for the Pacers and the Raptors. All right, if you missed it yesterday, Rick Carlisle called in and talked about that deal for Zubac. If you missed it, here it is. Have a great weekend. Listen, I think you want to hear me talk instead of Rick Carlisle, the head coach of the Pacers, who is joining us now on the inbound, I guess. Rick, how are you? Thanks for the call.
Hey, thanks, John. Appreciate the opportunity to come on. I'd be happy to talk a little bit about the proposed trade, but there's an initiative that is being launched today for Drive and Dish, my food insecurity charity. It'd be great if I could announce it officially on your airwaves.
Why don't you?
Highest rated show in the Midwest.
Yeah. I don't know what ratings you saw, Rick.
As long as
I
we
appreciate
say it,
you.
I mean,
why don't you show my bosses that ratings book, please? Thank you.
Well, we all believe in manifesting, don't we?
We do, brother. We do. There's no doubt. No, go ahead. I would be proud. Yeah. You have the floor. The floor is yours.
Appreciate that. Starting today, February 5th, there's 32 Penn Station sub shops in central Indiana. My good friend Joe Sunderman, who owns all those shops, has most graciously offered a promotion where if you go into any Penn Station Sub Shop. Donate $2 to Drive and Dish. You'll get a free buy one, get one free sub card. And all of these locations in central Indiana, the GMs are doing a competition. So who are the top three that raise the most money for Drive and Dish are going to get the royal treatment to a Pacers game. They're going to get seats down near the floor. They're going to get a locker room tour. And so we just want to pump this thing up. This charity has helped a lot of people in Indiana who are dealing with food insecurity issues. It's a very prevalent problem, and appreciate the opportunity to come on for a minute, and hope you're well.
No, well, I hope, obviously, anytime you want to call and put something like that, any announcements you have to make on here, certainly. Do you have a minute to hang with us, Rick?
Well, love to. Yeah, I'm on the way to the airport, so sure.
Okay. Well, we'll double back to this and make sure everybody is well aware of this coming up on the other side too. Is it okay that I don't know really how the timeline falls as far as the deal is concerned when it's completely concrete or solidified here. Is it okay to talk about that with you right now?
Well, it is a proposed deal. It's out there. I talked to the media after practice about it. Involves Benedict Mathurin and Isaiah Jackson going to the Clippers for Ivica Zubac and Kobe Brown. With the departure of Miles Turner, we desperately need a quality, high-level starting center. We believe Zubac is a top 10 center in the NBA. Conversations on this deal went on for many days, and I would assume longer. This is a great opportunity for all players involved. Ben has grown so much as a player. Isaiah the same. I mean, these guys are homegrown Indiana Pacer products. One guy's been in his fifth year. One guy's in his fourth year. And I'm proud to say that right now, as we speak right at this moment, these two guys are in the best possible position that they could be in to move on to the next opportunity and really flourish. And that's what we hope for them. And certainly we hope the trade goes through and everything works out. But we're excited to get Zubac, and Kobe Brown's a young player that people don't know a whole lot about, but this would be a great opportunity for him.
It's Rick Carlisle, the head coach of the Pacers. He is on his way to the airport. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I'm curious your thoughts prior to and as of right now for Zubac. He is a guy that gives you, or would give you, if this goes through, a depth at that position of which you've had good play at that position, but not quite, an 11 rebound type of offensive glass presence that he would present. What else does he do potentially for you and this team that maybe we haven't seen around here in a minute?
Well, there's a level of physical presence that we haven't had here. In my tenure at this time, I was here before in the early 2000s, but Zubac is one of the most physical centers in the league. He's a terrific finisher. He is a very good free throw shooter. He can make plays in the pocket on pick and roll. He's a terrific finisher at the rim. And, he provides a physical element that not many big men are going to bring in the league right now. And he's proven really over the last several years that in today's NBA game, he can still play fast and run and do those kinds of things. In terms of, his ability to stretch out his game, and maybe become more of a stretch player, we'll examine all that stuff when he gets here. But I had a short conversation on the phone with him, about 40 minutes ago. He's excited. He's been in LA for a long time. And I'm familiar with him because when I was in Dallas, we played 2 consecutive years of really, really competitive playoff series in the first round against the Clippers. And during that time, 5 and 6 years ago, respectively, he was starting to really establish himself. So he's been very consistent. He's played, I think, 94 or 95% of his games in his career. He loves the game. He loves to play. He's Croatian. he and I talked a little bit about Drazen Petrovic, who's a guy that I worked with when I was an assistant coach in New Jersey for a couple of years, who's probably the most legendary Croatian player in history. And we're just excited for the opportunity to get him here and get him immersed in, what we do and how we do things.
Well, I really like it too with him because he's a guy that it just wasn't all of us. He's evolved as a player to this level. He has really worked on that game to become what he is right now, to hopefully be able to transition to your team in the foreseeable future. He has worked hard at it, and that's something that you can tell. It just seems like that Clipper situation was much different for him than what he's going to be thrust into again once that goes through here at Indiana, but I'm very excited to see it.
Yeah, and look, the dynamics of our team are going to be different than the Clippers. With Tyrese, Pascal, Neesmith, Nembhard is, probably the starters going forward. I think he fits terrifically well with all of our guys. And 2 years ago, John, we had a game. It was either 2 or 3 years ago. We played the Clippers out in L.A. And he was one rebound away from a 30-rebound game.
Yeah, he was. I remember that, too, yes.
Yeah, and so the next time we played them at our place, we had Miles basically just face guarding him off the boards the entire game, and we were able to contain him on the boards and win the game. But he's a beast in there. And, for a team that has had issues with rebounding, he'll be a godsend.
It's funny you mentioned that particular game, too, because it seemed like every time Miles didn't have the best of games like that, I had a bad game, too, if that makes sense to you the next day. And that was one that stands out to me as far as not being a great moment. But that is something that this team has really lacked in that category. I'm not taking anything away from, Miles or previous guys here, but what he offers, especially down low, and I think about this from an offensive glass standpoint to get second chance opportunities. That's something that has not been prevalent, it seems, around here in a while, and that has to excite you.
It does, and really, just the timing of this, the situation. We had conversations with a lot of teams about centers. This is, the big man is coming back now in the NBA. You look at what Utah did. They got Jaren Jackson Jr., and they acquired him, it looks like, to play the 4 position. So now they got him, Nurkic, and they've got Walker Kessler, who's coming back next year, unless he's moved to the last minute, which I don't believe he was. So, there's a lot of teams. Houston's, they started the first game of the season with Steven Adams and Sengun in there, so size matters. It isn't just speed, in today's NBA. And, our game, the NBA game is constantly evolving and shifting, and the ebbs and flows are amazing. And so, we feel like Ivica Zubac really helps us, in areas that we need.
So Rick Carlisle, the head coach of the Pacers, before I let you go, I want you to double back to the reason why you called at the outset, but maybe a couple of final thoughts again, if this goes through, on both Benedict Mather and Isaiah Jackson, those that have been prevalent, we have watched and certainly enjoyed. And Rick, the one thing that stands out with Benedict to me is I'm a huge basketball fan. I love the game, and I love his mentality and how he approaches that every single time he picks up a basketball. That, for me, is something I will miss.
Yeah, listen, he's a tremendous competitor. He's got real attitude about scoring the ball. His physicality is not just physicality in general. It's offensive physicality. He punishes, opponents that are trying to defend him, much the way Ron Artest did when he was here, way back in the day. And so, and if you look at his last 4 games this past week, he played off the bench. It's 4 of the best games he's played. Now, they may not have been the super gaudy stats, but his attention to detail, his reads of situations, etc., were really on point. And I'm just very pleased that, at this stage of his career, at this moment, he is the most well-equipped he's ever been to move on to the next opportunity. And so, I'm grateful for that. We didn't have him signed. That was another thing that was going to be a challenge for us. Zubac is signed for a few years to a very, very good contract, and that's going to help us going forward.
Yeah, I thought Monday night was exactly what everybody wanted to see from him. I thought that was a tremendous game, a tremendous effort. And I know Quinn alluded to this a couple of different times in the broadcast. Didn't force it. That was just letting the game come to him and being himself. I thought that was a really great example of how you really want to see him be back on Monday night.
Yeah, and look, he's terrific.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the truth. I'm glad he's out west. I'm glad we're not having to see him 4 times a year.
Yeah.
But you know what they say about trades. To get really good players, you got to give up really good players. And I really think this is going to be a win-win for both teams.
It's Rick Carlisle. All right. The first thing you started with is an initiative you were talking about as well. Let's finish up our conversation. I appreciate you joining us here regarding that and the level of importance you got, Rick, with that in mind.
Appreciate that, John. Go to Penn Station Subs this month. All right. Donate $2 to Drive and Dish, which is the food insecurity charity that I started 2.5 years ago. You'll get a buy one, get one free small sub card. And we got a contest going at all 32 locations for whatever 3 general managers raise the most money for Drive and Dish. We're going to give them the royal treatment at a Pacers game. So, John, appreciate the opportunity to come on. Big fan of the show. And encourage people to come out and help us out with Drive and Dish. Thank you so much.
You got it. You call anytime, even if we don't talk about sports, because I'm musically inclined too, much like you are. We can do that if you want to, anytime.
I don't know if you want to get liberated that much.
Oh, liberation is right up my alley, Rick. Let me tell you.
All right, we'll talk.
I appreciate you, man. Safe travels. Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
Dear employer, an autistic inclusive workplace is good for business. It's time to make